jobs, rhinoplasty, that should make you want to know something. Imagine a doctor looks at your nose like, yo, you need rhinoplasty.
That's the marketing. I think that's the marketing. You got a fucking horn on there. You say that to sub to Inception, like, your mic is huge.
But then now it also makes me think rhino means nasal cavity or something like that. It means something about nose in like old Latin. So they're just saying nose dinosaur. Like a rhinoceros is just nose dinosaur.
But they do got that shit.
Because they Anasaurus.
And they don't say
They do. You just pronounce it wrong. It's rhinoceros. Yo, they do pronounce it like that, dude. For real. What? Say it how you say it.
Right.
Okay, Taylor. Taylor don't even know. What's the baby rhinoceros?
Are we really gonna forget the fact that Taylor said that a lamb was a sheep with a fade?
No, she did not.
Everyone listening is like, wait, she say a lamb? You said it was a sheep.
That's a question.
No, you said it was a sheep.
That's what she said.
You said it was a You can't just say the thing I said to make fun of you. The thing we never say
We period Taylor more often. Right, period. He's taking them sugar pills or whatever necessary to keep that shit flowing. We like period Taylor. She says some dumb shit. We copy it back. She just takes it and then pushes it back.
What I said was a sheep with a fade.
She's like Black Panther suit, bro. She takes off the city and then retweets it as a weapon. Cut it out, Taylor. Over here, Black Panther. I just watched that movie. Forrest Whitaker. Just cut it out, dog. Motherfucker been faking this for the last 20 years. You're really telling me, Forrest, you're really telling me you can't just be like, that? You can't just go like that. You can't be here like, Black Panther.
One sclerosis. Yeah, one singular one, that's what you got.
You got a scleroside.
Watch the movie. That's what they should do for benefit for him. Just watch Black Panther.
This motherfucker can't even watch his own movies. He's just sitting in the movie there like that.
He's never
What was supposed to call him? Desert?
Sahara Whitaker will be fired.
That is a fire-ass name. Huh? No, he didn't until we were to replace his ass by
A two-eyed twin?
or get a surgery. Literally, all this is a lever. You can put a little button. You put a little button or something you push on your wrist like a little Spider-Man.
a small spring or something.
A small spring is your eyelid. Don't women get their eyelids fixed all the time? Brian Kelly got his eyelid fixed. R.I.P. What if he got them shut? So he's like, I don't even want to see what's happening to me right now.
You got a forest to plaster?
It's gonna be a reason why I like that. And then
What's wrong? Come on, son. See, I'm gonna get that next time. That's crazy. What? This is the only time I'm letting you speak. Yo, say your dumb shit.
because of my theory when I was a kid, right?
About Forrest Whitaker?
No, about guys peeing.
Okay.
I thought.
I don't know what just happened. I'm trying to figure out. Do you think Forrest Whitaker ever just went like that?
Oh, yeah.
Just rub
You might have eye problems.
That's it. Just rub it, dog.
Yeah. That fixes it, though.
Literally.
It really does.
Did you get your eye fixed or something like that? What happened?
I was slap boxing with my cousin when I was younger.
Okay.
One of the slaps made my eye go crooked, and then he just quickly grabbed my eye, rubbed it real quick, bang, I was right back. Dead ass. You can fix lazy eye with just rubbing.
That's unbelievable, bro.
He ain't even trying.
You're not even trying. I will fix Forrest Whitaker if he comes on this podcast. I'll fix him right there. He can sit right next to Akash. I will fix his eye right there.
How do you fix his eye?
Tate? I'm gonna get some scotch. Get some electrical. All right, guys, we're going to take a break for a second because some of y'all are balding and we need to stop that. Some of y'all won't admit to yourself that you're balding. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing, but I get it also because the last thing that you want to admit is you're falling off. You see a lot of rappers like this, right? You see a lot of actors like this. There's probably an actor out there making Blade 7. We don't need Blade. We got Pente.
Right about it.
Okay? Right? Black Pente. Full head of hair.
You're right.
Okay? What you need to do is get ahead of your balding. All right? No pun intended. You have to do that with Keeps. It's very simple. Okay? I've been using the same active ingredient for the last decade.
It's food raises, man.
Absolutely beautiful.
No, you don't got it.
It's starting to fall off a little bit. Jump on it right away.
That's the time to do it.
Stop lying to yourself. Don't lie to yourself.
Okay, here we go, gang.
Keeps.com. Use the promo code Flagrant.
No. Keeps.com/flagrant. www.keeps.com/flagrant.
That is what I meant to say.
KEEPS.com/flagrant.
And what do they get?
Their first month of treatment for free. You know I'm on top of it, right? Because it's a great deal.
There we go.
I'll be knowing good deals.
That's it. Tell me one more time.
Keeps.com/flagrant. KEEPS.com/flagrant.
Get some more action. It's gonna be a green, okay? You're supposed to raise. But I'm hoping this greedy guy tries to raise it.
This Friday, October 9th, I am headlining the Connecticut Comedy Festival at Ames Sports, 7:30 p.m. It's going to be outdoors. It's going to be socially distanced. It's on a football field. We're taking all the precautions. So bring that ass through. And October 21st through 24th, I'm going to be at Acme Comedy Company in Minneapolis. It's one of the best comedy clubs in the country. It's my first time there, so let's make sure we pack that bitch out as much as we can while being responsible. You can get the tickets at my website, akashsingh.com. AKASHSINGH.com. Let's get back to the show.
All right, we're back from a pee break. Akash just walked out of set like Black China, no jumper. This dude had it.
I had enough. I couldn't handle it.
He had enough.
Being slandered.
And then he just walked out, and then Mark said a really offensive joke. Actually, that's what you might have done. You might have walked out like as a, what is it, like when you strike first? Preemptive strike.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because Mark said that Forrest Whitaker is half Asian.
I didn't say that.
You did say that, bro.
Unless it was funny. Yeah, I said that shit.
It was funny.
Anyway, so look, we're back. We got some important. We have an important thing that I want to share with you guys. But first, I want to talk about something. Why can't Trump take the car ride to say hi?
I don't know.
What was the big deal with that?
What's the big fucking deal?
I don't know.
He was in harm's way, then he's putting other people in harm's way.
His Secret Service people whose job is literally to die for him if they need to. I just don't know the fucking
should have jumped in front of that cough that gave him the juice.
Jumping that shit like Soldier Boy.
Oh, that's how you know Trump gets intimate. Because if he did get it from Hope Hicks, that means he's not just getting top or Bobo, as I said
You might
before.
notice I'm playing a little tight, folded quite a bit.
You never heard of
Because
Bobo?
I'm still early off in the tournament.
Like,
You got
Puerto Ricans
9 more levels before rebuys
Puerto Ricans
are
are gay mostly.
I've got a decent stack, and it really doesn't.
They call that a bobo.
It don't help me none to
That's
get
wild,
a huge stack right
cuties,
now.
dude. That's
If it
little
comes to me, it
cuties,
comes to me.
You turned it into something, bro. You turned it into something.
Right now, the game is survival. Double up if you can.
Why does he have to have sex
I've already
with
doubled up a couple times. I was up to about
Hold on,
200,000.
Yeah.
1 second. Sorry, Taylor. I understand
I was up
he's not
about
getting intimate with these
200,000.
girls,
I just went
right?
back down to about
You would
100,000.
think he's just getting some head or he's just fucking whatever. But
Playing a
in
little
order to
tight,
get the
looking
corona
for some
from a girl,
spots. I
he'll
got a
probably
couple
make
people
it out.
targeting
Tongues
me,
are
I can
involved.
tell you.
Tongues are involved. He's
This
tongue
guy
kissing, or
right
he's
here,
up in
right
there.
to my left.
Do you really think he's so sexually active?
You don't think he's sexually active?
Then
100%.
100%.
100%.
Guys like him are the reason they made Viagra.
Yeah.
You don't think he fucks?
He just doesn't. I don't know.
I guarantee you.
100% honest. He fucks?
I don't like him and Melania. Their relationship seems so strange.
He ain't fucking Melania. That's why she won't hold his hand.
Nah. I think he gets handies. I think he be grabbing her hand and shit. That's his sword, fam. Literally locked in, bro.
Bet money Trump got a Bluetooth subscription.
Oh, 100.
Promo code Flagrant.
Run it back.
I don't know. You think he's like smoking out like AIDS? You really think he's like banging out Hope Hicks?
I think he's getting head. If you don't get head at the table,
That's what I'm saying. He might be getting serviced.
he's getting service.
Secretly serviced.
He's getting secretly
I
service.
think that's
Oral office.
Oh, can I be honest with you? Why would you not have all female Secret Service?
Oh,
They're supposed to save. Protect you? Oh wait, you're not supposed to fuck your Secret Service? You guys are crazy out here, dude. No, but why would you?
That is the best secret. If you fucking all your Secret Service,
You don't think we have one gay president, John Adams?
yeah.
he's the only
I don't know why I just put that on him. That's disrespectful, bro. I was just watching Hamilton. I got Disney Plus. I was watching Hamilton the musical, bro. And the king was shitting on John Adams.
Yeah, but that's the king. Who gave him the king?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Son, the king don't even try to be straight.
Not at all.
Have you seen Hamilton the musical on Disney Plus? That shit is incredible, bro.
So it's the best.
Early position.
My homie was
I'm
Hamilton.
not gonna miss my shot.
Can I tell you the whitest shit ever? Can I tell you the
What is it?
I'll tell you the whitest shit about Andrew. When that Hamilton soundtrack dropped on Spotify, he was like, everyone has to listen. He texted me, you have to listen to the Hamilton soundtrack. I listened, I was like, what the fuck?
Why?
Is that?
No. You're bugging. The Hamilton soundtrack is fire, but the craziest thing about Drew is that he listened to the Hamilton soundtrack without seeing the fucking play.
Oh yeah, I never saw the play.
So you're an idiot for that.
No, I just saw the play.
After years later.
I didn't need it, bro. I visualized it, dude. I visualized it, man. I put it all together. There's people listening to this podcast right now. They're not visualizing, even though they can over YouTube.com/Flagrant2. I'm just saying. I visualized it, and it was so amazing. It was so beautiful, and it was inspiring. Dude. The American journey.
Hamilton is
That's the
rap.
deep state.
Hamilton's rap for theater kids.
It is.
Nah, son, rap for theater kids.
Mark, don't disrespect. Don't
Chill out,
disrespect.
son. You talking to a real black man? He's dressed in purple right now. Okay?
Just believe
Purple
it.
jump.
I showed up like it was Easter. Fuck out of here, son.
If a drug dealer went to church on Easter, that's how he's wearing.
Down to the watch though. Holy shit.
Yeah, look,
now that fit's fire.
Yeah,
That fit is fire, yo.
Hamilton, I've listened to the soundtrack.
Yo, you about to shit on Hamilton?
I'm just gonna
Be
say,
careful, bro. Okay, you wish there was more Lafayette.
that's what
you come from. Yeah. Where's Rochambeau's part? You don't get it all.
Going to see Hamilton, I saw it, it was dope.
Yo, don't put on airs.
Cried.
What is it? What is that term? Don't put on airs.
Nah, I ain't
putting on air.
Yeah, why you putting on airs, man?
Don't do that to me. Putting on air. I'm airless out this bitch.
Nah, you
I don't even got on Nikes. I'm airless.
You be putting on airs. You think you're too good for Nike?
Hey, don't do that.
You be putting
Don't
on
do that
airs.
shit.
That's fucking
Don't do that shit. That's calling me all right and saying I put on airs.
Yes,
It's the same shit. Yeah, okay, I'll be all right.
Man, that probably helps him out a little bit.
Yeah, what you talking about? I don't give a fuck.
Proud boy, stand by. Hang out, whatever. I'm not gonna
Hey, we'll talk later. I'm not that thing. I'll be on the message board.
Yo, how many of them were standing by the hospital? None.
Whoa, they're fake as
Where were they at, bro?
He literally said stand by because I'm going to have corona. That's what
That's all he needs y'all to do is stand by the dude. Literally got in the car looking for y'all.
Stand by the car. Stand by the hospital.
Drive by with the hot chew. Can you believe it?
Yeah, bro.
Hand up on the window.
DMV. That's what
DMV.
That's so pussy that we're trying to make him feel bad for threatening his Secret Service 3 people with corona.
That's the thing.
It's a plastic like the Uber.
Secret Service is there to intercept bullets from assassins.
Yeah.
Like, they're so grateful that their only risk is, like, an old guy coughing on them.
Can I say something right now?
A mask.
Wait a minute. This is actually very important. You can't be his Secret Service unless you have corona. Think about it. In order to protect him, you got to be in the room with him while he got corona. So you must either get corona or have already had it so you could protect him. Think about that.
Yeah.
You can't be like, oh, sorry, fam, I gotta be 6 feet away from you while you got corona. Yeah. Every Secret Service person had to have already had it.
After he gets corona, it's like, if you're Secret Service, you just have to be cool.
You gotta get corona. It's like what we were doing here. Yeah. If one of us got it, we all got it. Yeah. Except Taylor. She getting the fucking boo. If you get corona, you getting the boo. You know what I'm saying? Deal with that shit. Shorty. You know, gotta bring that Rona over here disrespecting.
Why would I have?
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
What's that, yo?
Wait a minute, but wait, what were we just talking
All I
about?
had to say, I was talking about Secret Service shit. Like, literally, Reagan's Secret Service guys got shot for him.
Lived?
Yeah.
He's up, yo. They don't die.
Like, Trump's guys, like, they don't give a fuck. Like, I don't get the hate when people are like, oh man, Trump's putting his Secret Service members in danger.
Liberals are losing.
Him going in public is putting them in danger. Him being the president, them being Secret Service is putting
Their
themselves in
job
danger.
is to be in danger.
It's like saying, like, oh, the military's in danger. It's like,
Yeah, dude.
That's the
Nah,
point,
That's pussy.
right?
That's soft. That's real soft. I think
They are the Navy SEALs of bodyguards. Like, you're the best of the best, the most elite of the elite. You think they're scared of fucking coughing?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. Grow up.
The counterpoint is like, oh, he didn't have to go out. He went out just for his own.
you gotta do it.
Nah, that is the point.
You got.
Why did he go out? He went to his car.
Yeah, but why go out?
He gotta leave the hospital.
Yo.
That's what I'm
Yo,
saying.
you
Nah.
gotta make a moment, bro.
Yeah, he did it from inside the hospital with the videos and shit. He put
Nah,
out
you
Twitter
gotta go
videos.
out. You gotta
All
say
right,
what
the
up to the
homies, bro.
people.
You
Yeah.
such your boy. Come on,
Throw
bro.
the setup.
Spin around the block a little bit.
That's it. At least he had a top on JFK, dummy. You know what I mean? At least he learned a lesson. Get your wig pushed back, literally. Wow. He did get his wig pushed forward. Technically, that shit came from the back.
Yeah. Well,
You want to talk about a comb over? Oh. Yo, whose comb over was crazier, JFK or Trump? Who got the crazier comb over? Cat food, JFK?
come on.
I don't know why I'm going so hard on JFK. All he's trying to do is liberate the people.
Marilyn Monroe a little bit.
He smashed Marilyn Monroe. You want to talk about Hope Hicks?
Yeah, OG Hope Hicks.
OG Hope.
She gave him syphilis.
Did she really?
I made that up. But
Damn, bro.
crazy though to
That's
think
an
about.
old man disease to get.
Yeah, right.
Syphilis, rickets.
Yeah, gout.
Gout.
Gout. That's
You know how much pussy you gotta eat to get gout, Mark?
No, you get leprosy from this.
Scurvy? But gout, they say, is the rich man's disease.
Because you eat too much meat.
That's right, that prime rib. Ooh. That dangle. Sometimes you gotta. You weren't here for that episode? We here talking about the Cobra Kai, Mom?
Oh yeah.
The meats.
Yo, you ever listen to Andrew talk about restaurants that he's been to in New York?
No.
What'd I do?
You were explaining some restaurant you went to like an hour ago.
Okay.
And then the way he explains it is he goes, all right, so we go to this restaurant. It's real small, super hard to get a reservation, whatever. And we're just sitting there. Yo, he just drops it on me like whatever. So he just says that, and he goes, yeah, there's a place across the street. They say it's the same burger. It's not the same burger, okay? It's not the same burger. You got to go to this spot. It's got the best burger. They say the prime rib's better. I don't give a shit. I go for the burger.
You know what you're doing? Putting on air.
That's what I got.
Putting on air. What they serve the burgers on? Airs? Have you put that shit on airs?
Yo, I felt that in my heart right there, dude. That was super disrespectful what you just did.
Are you a foodie? Do you consider yourself a foodie? Because you talk about food, man.
Nah, he just
I
wants
spend so much goddamn money, I'm about to call myself a foodie, man. We went to this place. The reason why I say it's hard to get a reservation is God wants you to get your hopes up.
Get
your hopes hicks.
Don't get home, you hick.
What is it's called Four Charles. Okay.
Oh, I've heard
Best burger.
Super hard to get. That shit's like impossible.
I hate this. I'm gonna take you one day, Taylor. None of y'all here have it.
Fucking name for a burger.
Why?
Four Charles. It just sounds gay. What kind of skinny ass, non-meat having ass, Hindu ass, beefless burger you eat? That sounds like a pussy ass burger. Four Charles?
This the dress, bro.
Four Charles?
Yes, Four Charles.
Hey, bro, get a real address. 106. You know what I mean? Get 3 numbers in your shit.
What is it?
If you got 2 numbers or less in your address, you gay. Son. You gay. That's some gay shit. That's some gay shit. I'm at 28 Broadway. Homo. All that skinny ass AIDS address you got, bro. Beat that shit up.
What's your address, though?
I got 4 numbers.
What is it?
8108. Out that bitch.
8 is the same number as 8. 80 is not a number. So you technically have 2 numbers.
What's your address?
Man, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it, dog.
What's your stupid gay ass address?
I don't get into it. What are you talking about? I got mad numbers in my streets, man. That shit is crazy, the amount of numbers I got. Hey, how do we even get here?
Because you're talking about your pretentious food taste.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Listen, I might go to a fine restaurant. You know what I'm saying? I might go to a fine restaurant.
I feel you, son.
It is what it is. I gotta treat myself right. My girl
He's not
likes
talking about
me.
Red Lobsters, Alex. He's talking about actual fine dining.
Hey, can I tell you one thing?
Red Lobster's defined as
No.
son.
I got something where black people and white people can agree 100% on food. You ready for it? You ready? You ready for it? The boil. Listen, the boil, that's the place where they put the food in the plastic, kind of like your couches.
What did you say? The crab legs.
So basically they put...
Yo, tell him something. I have a bloody mess of that chair.
Put a little lamb in there. Forget about it. No, in all seriousness, the boil is this like series of restaurants. I think they have different types as well, but essentially it's just what? It's like seafood, potatoes, spices.
Incredible.
It's unbelievable.
It's so easy.
It's easy. You literally, they give you a bib because you know you're going to get all fucked up.
Messy as fuck.
But when you go in there, tell me it's not the most diverse restaurant you've ever seen. Nobody putting on airs.
Nobody putting on airs in the boil. It's too messy.
Every time I've been there, it's always been black people. Maybe you go to a different one, but every time I go, it's only black people. So
12:30 at night or some shit, bro. You gotta wake up early, man.
you see white people there?
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe I'm going to the wrong one.
Yeah, you are. Which one are you going to?
Oh, what, you want to go to the white boil? Damn, Alex. Damn, sellout ass Alex. I'm going to the wrong boil.
Why do you think he started going to the boil, man?
Shut the fuck
Why do you think he's looking for seafood sluts? That's what he was looking for.
Yo,
Plastic bag, you won't need one of those with me. What are you saying, Akash?
he lost his invite to the cookout. That's why he's going to the boil.
Oh my
That's
goodness,
why.
Al.
You ain't going to no cookouts, Al.
I've never listened.
What about the carne asada? Are you invited to that? The carne asada.
All about this damn. This is both.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Wait, is it boil? You gotta like cook your own food?
Nah, that's Japanese people and Koreans. Yo, shouts to Koreans for the biggest hustle ever, bro. Hey, you want to come to our restaurant? Yeah. You cook.
Thank you.
That's idiotic.
That's why I hate fondue. I thought the boil was like one of those like hot pot places, like where you put all your food in.
Spot.
No, this
That shit for you. They
Why is
boil
it in a
that shit.
plastic bag? Can we understand
So you can
this?
shake that shit up with the seasoning.
But it's put there after.
Just don't eat with the seasoning. White ass, you get the
Oh, yeah, if you ask me, like, which season do you want to go? I'll just have the lobster, please, and the shrimps. I don't need any just steamed sauce. Yo, water is flavorful.
You
That's
have
the thing that don't forget.
truffle in it.
Yeah, truffle, bro.
Oh, word?
Nah.
Why?
That's one thing white women got wrong, but pumpkin spice?
Pumpkin. Yo, white people.
Everybody wants to talk about Karens. Karens invented pumpkin spice, so put some respect on it.
Nah, white people killed it with pumpkin.
We did.
Y'all killed it with pumpkin.
Nobody wanted pumpkins
Nobody
before
can take that
us.
shit from you, no.
Yeah.
Pumpkin fucking...
Ain't gourds the ones with the herpes on it? You never seen the pumpkins with the herpes on it?
The rich man's disease.
It's gout. If you don't got gout and herpes, you not rich.
Nah, I believe
If you
that.
don't got gout and herpes, you not rich.
Nah, I believe that.
Real talk. That's the sign of a king.
Damn.
That's the sign of a king. Okay, you got gout in your feet and braille on your dick. You're a king. Black Panther.
This motherfucker's crazy.
Yo, you know how they got dope ass technology in Wakanda? But do you know about that?
Yes.
I'm just saying.
What's going on with your...
Have you seen that?
Seen what?
That they have the dope technology there.
I watched...
Because they got vibranium.
I watch Black Panther like every month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
Like,
crazy.
It's like your period?
Yo, she trying to brag her.
Just rolls around. You're like, I'm getting real pissed. I think I'm watching Black Panther next week.
That's how the PMS calms down.
Panther menstrual
I just really like the movie.
One
No, that's a fire movie, man. They cured sickle cell with that shit.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah.
Man, that's nice.
What? You're lucky. We don't got some fancy fucking scientists who cure white diseases.
Why are you making it seem like Wakanda's real?
It is real. Israel? Israel?
What's going on, bro?
Yo, that's crazy though. Think about it. Wakanda, bro. Israel's Jewish Wakanda.
Jukonda.
It's Jewkanda.
Don't disrespect. Chadwick, he passed away. He was a real, our king. You're not even gonna say that. It was Juwan, whatever you do.
Chihuahua? It's called Chihuahua.
You want a country?
Come on, Taylor.
Yo, Taylor. Yo, period Taylor's another level, yo. You need to calm down over there, dude. You need to calm down. No, you're getting a little bit out of pocket. I'm not. I try to bring up Black Panther one time. Yo, you gotta say it like Forrest Whitaker, man. Come on.
I'm not.
Try to pronounce it once. Black Panther. Just try.
I bet you can't do it as well, man.
Try it one time.
I bet you can.
Because the power of Black Panther flows through.
His Wakandan accent is better.
It does.
The reason I know about podcasts like this, man, is because you sit around playing poker this slow and boring, while your hands are dead, and check to see what's popping.
We're going to get back to this in a second, but I do want to announce something that's very important. Asshole Army. We got a job opportunity, okay? We've been busy as fucks. We've been slacking on our social game. We haven't been able to create a lot of the Instagram, Twitter content that we were able to create in the past. We do these really fun Instagram and Twitter videos based on, parts of the podcast. And because we've been so fucking busy, not only with these podcasts, we got another project we're working on. We're going to tell you about that in the next couple months. But we've been slacking. So we want to hire somebody or maybe a couple people to fill that role. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a fucking competition. Asshole Army, if you're nice with editing, we want a multimedia beast. So that means video editing, Photoshop, maybe even some web design, some graphics. I mean, we want a multimedia super nerd who truly understands it, falls in love with it, and takes this as far as they possibly can. Yeah, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to take this whole episode and we're going to put it on Dropbox and we're going to put the link in the description to this YouTube video right now. If you're listening on SoundCloud or any other audio device, just go to YouTube. You'll find the episode there. Take it. You could download it. And we want an under 1 minute clip. Okay? The clip has to be under 1 minute. All right? And it just has to be hilarious in the same vein as our other clips, but you can put your own sauce on it, flex hard, and we're going to post them, show them to the world, and then let the people decide who the next person that's part of the Show Studios Army is. So go do that, attack it, and we're excited to see what y'all got. All right? Now let's pay some bills. All right, guys, we need to take a break for a second because we need to get your brains on point with this neuro root. All right, I know a lot of you guys don't know what neuro root is. So I'm about to tell you. Okay, you about to be sharp as fuck. Which episode did we do when we were on neuro root?
Last Patreon.
Last Patreon episode, we were fully on neuro root. Okay, they got these pills, they got these drops. It's from our boys over at Radix, and this is brain support right here. Okay, you got that B6, you got that caffeine in the pill. Okay, this stuff is taking you to the next level. Sharp, focus, without that crash that comes with a coffee. And I'm not saying don't drink coffee. I love some coffee. But if I need to be sharp as fuck, not playing games, let's say I got to fight with my girl when I go home, I take a neuro root, so I'm ready to go. Ding, ding, ding. Call it, Bruce Buffer. Let's get ready to rumble.
Dead ass.
I'm neuro rooted up.
I took that before Patreon, and then normally I'd be crashing at the end of the episode. We rode for an entire day. I swear to you, I was fine. I was like, I am good. I did a show. I went from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. Good money.
So look, neuroroot.com, use the promo code Flagrant and you get 20% off. And that's neuroroot. And I know some of you fucking idiots don't know how to spell that, neither do I, so I'm gonna look at the screen.
Yeah, you didn't know how to spell it if you took that to
NEUROOT.com. Use that promo code Flagrant and get your brain right. Let's get back to the show. All right, we back. Look, interesting story out. Jack Harlow, white rapper. Calm down, Akash.
Calm down, Mark.
Okay? Calm down. Mark likes, come on, bro. Mark likes Jack Harlow.
Mark loves Jack Harlow. That's his boy.
So Jack Harlow was in Atlanta, and some gays wanted to know what was popping. For real. They were walking down the street, and they were shooting their shot, and I guess he was shocked. Maybe there's not a lot of gays in Louisville or something like that, but it brought up a very interesting question, at least for me, right? Which was, is homophobia wrong?
No, we've had this discussion. We had a discussion about a different phobia last week.
Right. Okay. So, I guess to clarify the parameters, just to make sure we're good, I'm not talking about homophobia in terms of
hatred.
Hatred in terms of the way that people assume what that word means. But phobia is fear.
Literally fear. Arachnophobia.
Fear of
spiders.
Spiders, right?
Hydrophobia.
Fear of
water.
Weed. What? Oh yeah, water. Yeah.
I don't hate water.
Agoraphobic. Fear of, I think, leaving
outdoors.
The house. Outdoors. Okay, so it's truly extreme fear, right? Homophobia, I don't know if that's hateful. I do believe it's arrogant.
Not in this case.
Wait for it.
Okay.
Homophobia implies that the gay dudes would do something to you that would induce fear. Simply complimenting you is not scary, but women, when guys are talking to them and coming towards them, you have every right to be scared, Taylor, because that guy could do something crazy. He could assault you, he could even rape you. That is terrifying.
He can overpower you.
He could overpower you. You could be male-phobic. You could be whatever, heterophobic, or whatever that is, male-phobic. Yes, Akash.
Okay, finish your point.
Okay, so my point is, homophobia, if there's a gaggle of gays, just standing in the corner, right? And they are whistling at you, and then they start to approach you all together. If a guy is homophobic, right, I am fearful that these gays might rape me. I don't think that is hateful, but it is arrogant to assume that they would want to fuck you and fuck you forcefully. Getting laid is one of the easiest things about being gay. Right? I mean, isn't that what happens?
What do you know about it?
Shower at the gym and you're like, yo, you're not sucking dick, and the guy's like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You start sucking dick, right? Like, isn't that's just how it goes. That's how.
I think that's how it works.
I mean, AIDS didn't go around so fast because they don't fuck at all. I mean, it's male sex drive, right?
They have glory holes, right?
They have glory holes.
There's just a hole where you put your dick in and then it just gets sucked.
And on the other side, there's a guy who's like, thank God, a dick and no face. This is all I wanted, right? So,
yo, look, that shit sounds magical. Son. You stick a dick in this hole and get sucked? Can you imagine? Can we just
talk about something else?
Narnia over there, man.
You know what gay means before it meant homosexual?
Happy. Because you're getting your dick sucked all the time, probably.
That means that the people that decide to call homosexuals gay were not going, ew, gay. They were going, man, look how gay. Look how happy that must be just getting your dick sucked all the time in a sauna.
Yo, can you imagine a straight dude and somebody's like, stick your dick in that hole? You'd be like, in your fucking mind?
Stick my dick in the hole? No, there's a guy's mouth on the other side. Sick!
Gay people just thought
He doesn't have a beard.
gay people are so trusting, and so they be getting their dick sucked so much. Like, yo, if I just put a hole in this bathroom stall,
Yes.
and I put my dick in there, somebody can suck it.
So here's the problem with homophobia. It's too arrogant. These gay guys can get dick whenever they want. Think about it. They can get, so straight guys won't walking around going like, oh my god, these guys are gonna rape me. Thinking you're gonna get raped by a gay guy who could fuck whenever he wants, right? And guys who are in great shape, these gay guys are working out all the fucking time, probably because they're going to the sauna to get their dick sucked. Of course I go to the gym all the time. I was just getting my dick sucked in the shower. That makes perfect sense. The point is, homophobia.
Protein shake. This is the real protein drink.
So here's the thing. It is arrogant but not hateful. Based on the literal definition of the word.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Now, the one thing I would say is, you said women
Give
are.
me pushback, or as they say, fun.
You say women are afraid because a man can overpower them.
Correct.
If you're a gay dude, you could probably overpower most straight dudes. I mean, these motherfuckers are brawling.
If you hung out in West Hollywood, these guys are beautiful and they are chiseled and they're massive. I mean,
You sound very turned on by it.
and they're tight and they're nice, smart, and they're successful.
Let me tell you something.
They're talented and they listen to me. And they cook. And they're great guys.
But yeah, you're making a point.
If they want to have their way with you, they can.
So
If you're Jack Harlow built like an 80s gay. These modern day gays would easily overpower 80s gay Jack Harlow.
Yeah, he's got Ricky.
before they were in the gym all the time getting their immune system up.
Yeah, real talky.
So maybe homophobia should be a function of height. Like if you're a little dude and cute as fuck,
Yeah.
right? You could be more afraid of gay dudes potentially doing something to you that you want. You have a right to be more homophobic than I do. Right?
Every gay dude on this earth could probably have his way with me.
Exactly.
I would let him, but that's the only difference.
But does that make a little sense? Like, I wonder if gay guys ever push back on the idea of homophobia where they're like, dude, we don't even want to fuck you. Like, that's the most insulting thing. Like, straight guys are like, oh, these gay guys wanted me. It's like, what are you talking about?
Oh, I'm
Like,
sure.
sex is the easiest thing to get. Why do I even care about what you're
If they're hitting on you, and then you're like, yo, chill out, and they're like, that's homophobic. What makes you think I want to fuck you? It's like, yo, that's like a construction worker. When a girl's like, stop hitting on me, be like, I didn't want to fuck you, I just want to whistle at you, bitch. Stupid
That's what they
arrogant.
want. If the girl literally stopped and was like, all right, let's leave work, so let's go fuck. I think the construction workers would be like, well, I was just trying to entertain my friends. You know? Like, I got a building to build. It's Corona. I can't get tested if I leave the facility. It's a whole issue. I don't think they've ever done that. You think they're just going to walk off the work?
I don't think women have been like, let's fuck right now. But I'm sure if they did, you would have to go. You can't be the gay dude being like, well, no, actually, maybe on my lunch break.
Taylor, have you ever reacted like a construction worker whistled at you and you were like, what do you want to do?
Not necessarily that way.
Talk into the microphone.
Not necessarily that way.
Wait, what way did it work?
Like, as in, like, if they were whistling or like, hey, what's up, Molly? I'll just do a weird ass face or something like that.
But have you ever been into it?
But it's never worked, right? Like the flirtation has never worked. You've never been like, oh, here's my number. Thank you so much for whistling at me. And they know that.
I don't get why do guys do that?
It's the same reason why like Shamu like puts the water on the people watching. It's just fun. You know what I mean? It's just entertainment.
Yeah, but the people will sit in the splash zone. Women don't intentionally.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know what you're doing trying to walk around in the city. Enter in the splash zone, yo.
No.
Enter in the splash zone.
What are you doing in this?
Vacation.
What do you do when you go to the splash zone? Put on a poncho.
That's right. Cover it up, head to toe.
I will go out looking bummy as hell, and then there'll still be guys who know me.
Don't they make you feel good? Don't they make you feel good?
So because like I don't look right. Like stop.
But imagine you look right. Imagine how much more you would get.
Maybe they see what's beautiful on the inside.
Fact.
Yo, maybe they're catcalling
Maybe a menorah.
Sounds like a constellation, bro. That's like the little dipper.
That's what the labia menorah is. No, that's the Jewish labia. Y'all never seen no labia menorahs?
I thought you said
With 8 candles on it? You got 8 candles on your labia menorah.
I thought you said light me a menorah, and I was like, this guy really is Jewish, yo. This is crazy. You said light me a menorah.
What's labia menorah?
That's Hanukkah, light the menorah. I thought you were saying like light me a menorah. I was like, this guy really wants a menorah.
What's happening right now, bro? It's all good. You never smell anything right anyway. Looking at Taylor's notes, it just looks like she's pounding her fists on the
She
fucking
can't spell my name for shit.
I know. How do you spell Arcos?
Yo, can we actually talk about this, dude? Three words.
It's valid.
It's 3 A's total, not in a row.
I know.
Yeah, but you were spelling it A-A-A-K-S-H. Ox. Yeah, you trying to change the music?
Yo, do you remember you were quizzing Taylor on on your religion?
Yeah, ask it, Taylor, where am I from? Do you know where I'm from? What country? What country am I from?
Hold on.
What religion? Hold on.
Don't leave it there. Hold on a second. Al, what's going on right now? What country is Akash from? Go. I can show you.
Here we go.
Go.
Okay, so originally I was gonna say India.
That's right.
No. But technically, are you American citizen? So technically, it's American.
Ain't no trick question. How am I brown is what I want to know.
Taylor killed that.
Yeah, you got that right.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something racist.
Mexico. I wanted you to say that so bad. Oh, that would have been awesome.
She was talking to F.A. and then F.A. was like, you think I'm white, don't you? And she was like, you're not?
I think kind of look white.
Yeah, I think it passed.
But then I was like, what country? Do you know what country I'm from? She's like, nah. And what religion am I?
I mean, that's a tricky one, though.
Yeah.
Only ones I don't know. That's even a real religion.
What? None of them are real if you're a Christian. Yo, have more confidence in yourself,
It's
bro.
like Slumdog Millionaire. It's like Slumdog Millionaire. It's awesome. It's like Snoop Dogg Millionaire. It's like, goddamn.
I tell you what, cuz.
I love Slumdog Millionaire.
That's a good movie. I watch that like once a month myself.
Yo, is that Indian people?
Wait, how many other religions do y'all have?
It don't matter.
Oh, man.
It don't matter. There's too many. What was the
Hindu's like the
question?
main one, though, right?
No, is Slumdog Millionaire, is that like, that's like Indian people's Black Panther?
Is that your Black Panther?
Nah.
It's not a black.
Do y'all watch it like that though?
That movie a little divisive within the Indian community.
Really?
Some people feel like it only shows the bad parts of India. It's like, I don't feel that
I
way.
heard that they didn't even treat the actors right afterwards.
It's like
I
Indian
didn't know
magic.
that. I don't know
Wait a
that.
minute, hold on. Is there anything that's unanimously loved by India? Because Matchmaker's divisive. Slumdog Millionaire is divisive.
What's unanimously loved by anybody except Black Panther? Black Panther is the only unanimously loved thing I can think of.
I don't know if it's unanimous. Forrest Whitaker kind of like, you know, he should be like, hey,
Yeah, mad skeptical.
I know, right? He was like,
Very suspicious.
Slumdog is where I learned India makes hot chicks. I ain't know that before that.
Yeah.
Still waiting.
Nah, you gotta admit, the lead, she was a baddie.
Frida Pinto.
Priyanka Chopra?
No, Frida Pinto.
She can't.
She was a
she's not
baddie.
job there, she said.
Yeah.
Wait, why not?
Because she got smoked out. I heard she got ran through after that movie.
Oh,
Yeah, producers and shit. That's
She dated the fucking main character, Dev Patel, for like years.
Oh, I heard the producers smoked her out, son.
That was a wild one.
Producers smoked her out.
Everybody was smoking her out?
Yeah.
Really?
That's what the world is truly.
Slumdog.
Yo! Are you cool with them talking about your queen like that, dog?
Son, don't talk about Frida like that, yo.
She's a baddie. I was giving it up.
Yeah, respect, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
I'm gonna take it to the boy.
Black Panther. No, how did we even get here? We're lost.
Oh, we're asking Taylor questions about me.
Oh, yeah.
2 for 2, though.
Nah, she got it. She was just worried.
But she also said, I don't know if it's a real religion before she said Hindu.
It's not. It's not. I went to their church. They just walk around in circles like some fucking NASCAR Saturdays.
What's Catholics doing?
Hey, getting down, sitting down, getting up.
Sitting down, getting up, same shit. We just be walking. We be ambulatory.
That shit was like an extra.
I gotta go see Nancy Pelosi, the Catholic match. This woman would look lost. Dog, even at your wedding, bro, that was a lot of up down.
Yeah, that's like burpees. For Jesus. It's Jesus burpees.
That's why he's ripped?
Yeah, exactly, bro.
Yo, that's how Jesus got it.
I got that core strength.
Indians are more lean, like they were like walkers.
Yeah, we be walking.
You do be walking. Remember when we went in Singapore?
Yeah, we walked around.
Was that real?
That was a real temple, yeah.
I mean, put on some roller skates or something.
Yeah, make that shit roll bounce.
Yeah, you can literally have it. Put some music. Yeah.
Be lady.
Literally, but correct me if I'm wrong. We just walked around in circles, right?
Yeah, that temple, we just walked around.
So how else they gonna stay awake? His shit, I was almost falling asleep.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on, bro. What part you were gonna fall asleep? When Father Ben got caught up? Yo, you gotta get Father Ben back on the pod so we can talk about his metaphor. Father Ben gave y'all a trash metaphor. We were waiting for this shit to start tracking. Father Ben is a dope ass dude, bro. I spoke about him on the pod, right? And remember what was it exactly? He was talking about like their union.
Yeah.
You and your girl's union, your wife's union.
Glass and sand.
He goes, but you have to forge that union. Right now you're sand, but when you come together with that strength, it's like fire. And what does fire turn sand to? Glass. And everybody here was like, that shit kind of break.
And then he caught it. He's like, but it's of course it's stronger than glass.
Molten lava, like lava rock. Technically, it's lava rock. So you guys are a lava rock. Man, it was like when you fuck up a punchline. You know, you be scrambling to think of the next funny shit. He just went for lava. He was like, hell, fire, lava.
This man improv your vows like that? He was trying to write on stage like that on your vows?
He was right. He was freestyling. I kind of like that.
Jesus changed a slow version of like Hotepin.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is.
They like say one line for the Bible, they just like connect mad different shit and then run right back to it.
I look back.
Honky tech you, yo.
I look back as Al sitting in the way back in the church. He came an hour late. He's sitting way back in the
Black
church.
people section.
I found him. I look back after he said that shit, and Al just going like this. It's just him and his girl, and Al just like. Can't even get lost in the wedding. Can't even get lost in it for 2 minutes.
You want me to look at
Expect that from me? That's true. I got no soul. I sat real close up front so shit could penetrate. I knew I'd be in bad behavior if I was in the back.
You Black Panther.
I'm Black Panther.
You absorbed his lesson and threw it back on his
Right
shoulder.
on Al back in the face, screw face. Like.
Yeah, look at it and get out of me in the middle. That was mad close.
It almost happened when he said the sand turns to glass. What did you think when he was breaking that down?
I was like, yeah, lava rocks. All right, I was cool with it. You know, I was getting married at the time, so I was kind of stressed. So I was like, whatever.
You were the most calm person getting married. Be honest.
Yeah, it was cool. I don't know, getting married is kind of, yeah, it was cool.
It was dope.
Yeah, it was cool. I was calm. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm so happy you didn't even notice the metaphor.
Yeah, I bail out for a little bit because when you have to do the homily, you just get readings from the Bible.
What's a homily?
That's where he's freestyling.
Gay guys at the
That's where he's freestyling. So when he's on stage, he's like, or when he's on the altar, he's like,
You can't write the homily before.
no, you can, but like you have to do it based off what the readings are.
And you guys choose the readings.
Yeah. So for your wedding, you get.
Did he ask you what your reading was going to be?
Yeah. So we gave him like 3 different readings you had to read.
And when did you give it to him?
Like 2 days before.
Okay, so he had quite a bit of time.
I mean, he's also, the father for thousands of people. He got to talk to them too.
Yeah.
He doing okay.
Nah, he pulled up like Trump to that wedding.
He was freestyling.
You guys have a great reunion. It's fantastic.
His wedding, great. Just the greatest.
This union is tremendous. It's really the best.
What about a Hindu wedding? Does anyone even speak? Do they have to speak?
You wouldn't know.
What? Yeah, I want to know.
I want to know. Yeah, we all would know. Come on. Fucking piece of shit.
Exactly.
Yo, what an asshole, bro.
Exactly.
Dude, what do you guys have? Does it a lamp? How does it?
I know when it's like.
Y'all be having the buzz cut sheep over there?
We got the high top fade sheet.
No, for real. How does it work? You walk in and are they like Prince? No, everybody gets it. Everybody gets it over here on Flagrant.
You got it.
But do you guys have a master of ceremonies? What is
I
it
guess I
called?
should have bet out.
I mean,
We have a priest.
Thought he was ready.
The Indian jokes, bro. Nothing else.
Indian joke. Al is done.
I'm sorry. I'm old school New York, guys. I'm sorry.
Al just wants me to give him a hero. Get the fuck out of here. He had enough. Yo, it's taking too long. Yo. No, we don't have a lot of freestyle like that.
But is there anybody? Do you guys have anybody? Who do you get the wishes from? Like,
my last wish was to get married, so I don't know after that. I used them all up. And then I promised him the third wish for me to set him free. So.
no, in all seriousness, who is the master of ceremony?
Robin Williams or Shaq or Will Smith.
He's not Shaq.
Holding it in now. Holding it in. He's trying to not let it go because you got in his head, bro. You got in his head.
It's not Shaq. It's Kazam.
Oh shit! Just chilling playing some Pokemon.
Ignoramus, dude. Can't handle this city I'm on.
29,
You're right, dog. Get it right.
49.
For real.
Yeah.
What happens?
We don't use much free
Oh, I turned 50 next year.
Who
Born in
runs the
71.
show, dude?
Magic carpet.
You got me by like 3-4 years.
That just being racist, Taylor. Come on.
I ain't do shit. Just chill mostly.
The magic carpet doesn't
perform the wedding.
Right.
go.
No, he's
I think he's just there flapping corners and we just understand what he's saying.
In all seriousness, is there somebody who is the master of the ceremony?
There's a
Oh, so you worried about the winner?
It's called a priest.
Pundit, yeah. P-U-N-D-I-T.
Pundit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Burp?
But you know, with these newer cars though, that ain't really something you ain't got to worry about it like that.
Yeah.
You can't do the shit like where people get married now.
No, I know. Online.
These newer cars, I don't know. You should probably look it up. I bet you it got some forward assist or it got something. You should look it up because that's something back.
Homie get certified online and then do it.
Yeah, they will. Yeah. It's almost like it's
Right, them little cars are all front wheel drive because it's easier to put the power right there to the front wheel. But honestly, I would for real, if I was you before I just gave up on the car,
That's probably the most religious
I
dude.
would look up the reports on it and see what people talking about because they got this new technology, man. Where I mean, shit. I mean, that's some old school thinking. It might not apply to these new cars. They got new engineering.
About what's going on over there.
Neither do I. Apparently, there's a genocide.
You got that email too?
I've been getting mad DMs from Armenians,
Listen,
and I gotta say this.
It might not.
The Kardashians aren't the only fine ones. There's some fine-ass Armenian girls out there that let me know about this genocide. We gotta keep them alive, yo. I've got one tweet. This is how much you know how Kanye knows shits about the Kardashians. He has one tweet about pray for Armenia.
What year is the car? What year is the
And we
car?
need to get our master is back.
You right. No. 2001. I was thinking closer to like a 2010 or an 11 or something.
I don't know about it, but there's a beef between Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Armenia, and it looks like it's escalating into.
That's why I was saying if they're making something,
and obviously, there's been horrible atrocities committed against the Armenian people that are not to this day acknowledged, and they're probably very concerned that this could happen again.
After was explaining to me that the Armenian general.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. They'll be rear. They'll be front wheel, or they'll be all wheel before they'll be rear
I
wheel.
didn't mean to ruin the mood.
You're right.
Yeah.
But no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So back to
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Stupid thing.
Well, listen, I had a lot of fun. Wish you could have been there.
Do they play music?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
3 wishes. Just invited me.
That's fucked up.
You were 1 wish each.
Do they play music though?
Ours is just a ceremony, so no. But the reception gonna have all the music.
Right.
Are you gonna be there at the reception?
Yeah.
Do you not play music because you don't want the snakes?
But for 2001, what did he want for that bitch? Like 1,500?
What if Akash's dick unzips his own pants and just starts coming out?
Yeah, well, that might not have been a bad price, but you don't want no car that's 20 years old, man.
This show.
This show you watch?
You don't want no 20-year-old car, man.
Everything gotta go back to black shit, or we listen to
Why
rock.
does Taylor think this podcast is a Migos song, bro?
Yeah. I mean, if he was gonna give it to you for like maybe 1,000 or 1,500 or maybe even like 1,000, where you could then sell it for 2,500 in the spring, you know what I'm
Oh
saying?
my gosh, he's right.
Speaking of snakes, can we talk about tigers?
Yo. All right, so Tiger started an OnlyFans. This is kind of lit. That's a transition. That's a transition. That's a Bruce Jenner to fucking Caitlyn right there. That's a beautiful transition.
Goddamn Segway champion.
Okay?
2-wheel.
Real talk.
Well, you know,
Yo, Segway got bodied so
my
bad.
sister's, I mean, not my sister, my daughter's boyfriend, his parents bought him a new car. They got a Honda Accord. They was trying to sell to my daughter for like $2,000 or
Because you're so embarrassed by
$1,700.
a stupid ass invention.
They up here in Shaker. I got to make sure they still got the car. They might have got rid of it because Trinity said she ain't want
was
it.
like, yo, you can eat hamburgers every day and you don't gain any weight.
I'll check.
Of a heart attack.
I'll check on
The same
it.
shit as keto, right?
It is.
It's the same shit.
Yeah, it wasn't nothing.
Can't
See,
do
the
cheese
thing
on a
is,
burger,
see,
that's it.
Trinity boyfriend go to school in Tennessee.
Anything.
So he was driving, long distance with it, and he mentioned to his mom that he thought his suspension might have knocked a little bit while he driving the shit out of it.
It is what
But
it
the
is.
car's in decent shape. I saw the car. They could have. I mean, if they really wanted to feel super safe about it, putting it on the road like that,
So
they could have
Tiger got a
spent.
mallet.
Yeah.
Have you seen this thing?
Yeah, I saw
Yeah, that
that.
motherfucker run.
The thing
Absolutely.
that bothers me about it is he's holding it in the I got a little dick position. He's trying to like make the
Not
most
that
of his
much
dick.
because he was only in school
That you
for
could
one
just
semester.
grab.
And I mean, it wasn't like he was
Everything is
making
the
a bunch of trips back and
That's not what
forth.
I
Most
saw.
of his trips, he was going back to see
That
Trinity
looks small.
at
Yeah,
O State.
Kinda look real.
But the car was in
Taylor say it,
decent
but yeah.
shape.
what?
The only reason
I saw
Trinity
a
didn't get
different
it
one,
was
dude.
because she was
I think
back
it's
on
actually not bad.
campus
You saw this
and
one.
wouldn't have nowhere to keep it on campus. At first, she thought she was going to get an apartment.
No, that one's totally little. What are you talking about?
No, that shit is huge to me.
If they got, I'm gonna check with. I'm gonna hit him up when I get off the phone
is,
with
but I
you.
think
If
go
they
with
still
this
got
angle,
it,
'cause this one-
I'm sure they'd be willing to get rid. I mean, they was ready to let it go. I mean, because they didn't even trade it in or nothing. I mean, it's probably just sitting over there.
Nah, that motherfucker got it. Go with
All right,
that
it's
angle
on.
and put that one up, and then make it
All right,
so
later.
full screen.
Picture
Go
that's
full
on your
screen.
phone.
Yeah.
But if he pretending to have a huge dick and he don't like exactly typical? Like that's Tiger right there in one picture. I'm gonna pretend I got a huge dick and I don't. That's Tiger's entire
I
life.
said to see your text.
Yes, there is some like faking, but from what I see, that motherfucking dick right there.
It's the angles.
Nah, that motherfucking dick right there. Wow.
Who's bigger, Safaris or Tigers?
I don't know. I got to see them next to each other wet.
Yo,
This guy, son.
What?
Yo, let me
It's like
tell
the
you
food
something.
in the supermarket, right? They put a little moisture on it, looks bigger.
Yo, is that why they do that?
Yeah, they got the perfect
Yo,
lighting.
Tiger just one animal.
Yo, you gotta
Safari
take-
is the whole jungle. Get out of here. Safari got 2 E's. That shit is so big.
Amazing.
But wait a minute, that's
Safari
a good
had
point.
the dick.
About the supermarket, we should be taking our dick pics next to the fruits. Do you know what I mean? Because they look so much more delicious with the perfect lighting and the moisture.
Oh yeah. You ever get catfished by the fruit?
Oh, absolutely. You take it back to your house.
Yeah, I go, what is this shitty fruit that I bought?
It's the lighting.
It was so nice at the store when they sprayed the little spritz on it.
That's what we need to do. Now that's the dick right there.
He has a nice head.
Yo. Wow, girl.
Yo, we can't comment, dude.
Yeah, stop objectifying us like
Y'all
that.
can't comment on that, but yeah, y'all looking at a dick.
Yeah, but we looking at it different.
Looking at a dick.
I'm trying to decide how big this part of his thumb is so I can add them up to figure out the whole length.
Yeah.
Because he's just got the bottom of his thumb at the base.
I really think it's the angle.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been fooled by a dick pic before? By clever lighting on a dick pic, clever angles?
Not like.
All right, take
to
that
me.
shit.
Yeah, I know. Right?
Yeah, see if you can send me that on my phone.
Yo, he took down Kylie with that shit.
Yeah.
It's not that big.
Ray J took down Kim with that shit.
This microphone is bigger than Tiger's.
No, it's not.
Nah.
Look at this thickness. Look at the thickness of this mic.
Thickness, maybe, but we're talking about length, distance.
It's the same.
No. What are you, Taylor? How tall are you? You can't take that.
Yes, I can.
Nah, chill out.
Come
Yo.
on,
You're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt. That's going to be in your lungs.
Nice. I prefer them this size.
No way. You take a dick that big, you can have Forrest Whitaker's eyes. That shit gonna hit you right in your socket. Real talk. It's gonna hit you right in your socket. You need to be careful.
This is actually a really nice size.
No.
Stop stroking it
That's
like that. Too.
borderline
That's wild, though.
brutality, yo.
Yo, she's
just touching the top of it. Chill out. Black Lives Matter, yours included. Stop putting them big old fucking dicks in you. That's crazy. That's really crazy, Taylor. You're making me feel uncomfortable. Next topic.
Oh my god.
What else we got, yo? Weinstein still catching bodies.
Yeah.
Yo, Weinstein, more women have come out to say that he assaulted them or raped them or whatever like that.
Hey, you late, bitch.
Yo,
Hey, you late, bitch.
What's going on
Hey,
with this cake?
been there, done that, bitch. Give us a new guy.
yo, but what is the thinking with this, do you think?
Hey, you gonna add more years to his life sentence that he gonna get?
But why come out now?
I mean,
He's in jail now, right?
Well, he's going to go to
Done
trial.
with
But why do you think come out
registration.
now?
it's cathartic in some ways.
Like,
for
also, there's a
reasonable
settlement?
people, but.
Oh, so like I need to get in on that chatter.
Maybe.
And if you saw Weinstein's dick, you're entitled to money.
And again, I'm not saying these. I'm
That's
not,
violating.
Do we have a picture of his dick?
I don't think we want to see it, to be
Okay,
honest.
for
It
real.
looks like it felt like he's born with herpes almost.
Nah, there's
man
some
is
wild
disease,
shit
bro.
about his dick. I forget what it was, but there was some wild shit about
No, it
his
was
dick.
Epstein's. It looked like an egg.
the old egg dick.
Nah, but there's some wild shit about Weinstein's too. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, it's like,
These motherfuckers with wild dicks are some rapists, bro. And that kind of makes sense. 'Cause they're
100% makes
thinking
sense.
nobody would want to consensually fuck me.
Yeah.
Because I have this disgusting dick.
Yep.
But is that how dick works?
Keep going. Keep going. I'm listening, Mark. Mark, I'm listening.
I'm here.
Mark, keep going.
Not even weird to me.
Is like if you have a dick that's weird and you're hooking up with a girl and she comes back consensually, everyone's happy. You take your dick out and it looks weird. Is she just gonna leave?
Yeah, I would assume so.
I mean, if you,
I
let's
think
just
that's
say,
how dick works.
hypothetically speaking, let's just say you go down on a girl, right? And pussy looks crazy.
Like what?
Like she stands up and it kind of unfolds like a beach chair.
Okay. Okay.
What would you do?
Like a sleeping bag that unwraps or something?
Unwraps completely.
But if it pops open like an umbrella inside.
Whoa. Like a velociraptor that's yelling at you?
Like a velociraptor that's yelling at you.
What?
That shit.
Newman.
I don't know. Like, out of respect, I'd be like, all right, well,
We'll just get it done.
yeah, I would say I have like a tonsil issue and I can't go down.
Son, even if you pulled out, it got caught in the fucking webs and then slid back into your vagina. You know what I mean?
He has
But you can still beat it up though. Like,
He got a little Forrest Whitaker. Yeah, you could still beat it up. You could still beat it up. Absolutely. You still, and I would, 100%.
that's what I'm saying.
If I'm at that point, I'm going to cross the finish line.
I truly don't think I would have the courage to be like, nah, I have to leave. Like what? Like
Because you would be so concerned that it would make that person feel horrible, right?
They're at your place. You have to like kick them out. You'd be like, sorry, you just have to go home now.
Who
would do that?
What if they showed you their pussy? What if they showed you their pussy?
Who would do that?
What? You wouldn't?
Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Hold on. Explain what's going on here.
You suffered deformed penis.
Hold on. A girl showed you her vagina.
So not look, but it smelled a little funky, and I was like,
That's
nah.
different.
That's a deformity.
No, we didn't say
Mark is deformed all the time.
We didn't say Weinstein's dick smells. We said it looked weird.
Yes. Purely off the physicality. You would reject a woman? No, that's
No, you
harsh.
wouldn't. You probably turn it around from the back and hit it. That's it.
Nah, there was one time I was with a chick, and her vagina kind of felt like an asshole. It was weird because it was just tight right at the beginning, and then
opened up in the middle.
Yeah. It was weird, and I stopped fucking, and that's it.
Yeah, I was in that same situation, but I did not stop fucking at all.
I stopped.
I finished.
Nah, it was too weird. It was like tight, and then
Taylor,
just
hold
nothing.
on. It was tight at the brim.
Yeah, so how'd
and
you
then
finish?
opened up. Yeah, it's like a quarter water. You never fucked a quarter water?
No, I haven't.
All right, dude, whatever.
Respect.
Putting on airs over here. You know what I mean?
You putting on airs.
I do have airs.
You putting on airs.
I can't believe you never lubed up a quarter water.
Nah, man, I did.
Okay. Come on, Al. I thought you were my cinnamon apple, dude.
What's a quarter water?
Oh, he's too young for quarter water.
Nah, that's a New York thing.
You
That's a
don't
New
know
York
about
thing.
25-cent gum?
Huh?
You never got a 25-cent pack of gum either,
Oh,
do
you
you?
said gum.
What
Gum.
about
I
50
thought you
cent
said that's
sodas?
what you do in the quarter water.
You know 50 cent sodas?
No, I know.
Come on, bro.
I can use context clues to put together money and items.
Nah, but
I'm
He's
not,
asking if you remember, because we've
I'm
become
not
the
like
guys
Chris
that
Rock.
are
I'm not
like,
like, what could it be?
how much was it? How much is Arizona?
Oh,
$1.
nah,
25.
B.
No.
Saved it.
No, you was right.
Saved.
No, it was actually $1.
99
So you're
cents.
wrong.
It was 99 cents, fam.
Oh yeah, but
in
nobody
Florida-
gave
99
the
cents.
nobody
What is
gave
tax?
the
What is
penny.
99
What
cents
is
for
tax?
2 gallons
What
of
is
iced
tax?
tea.
What is tax?
You could get 2 gallons of...
What is tax? That's $125. Come on, dog.
tax is 107.
That's 25
I know, son.
What do you live
Got a
in
tax you
Norway?
paid, son.
Yeah.
It's not a 99 cent. Yo, you ever go to a bodega where they charge more for the Arizona?
I'll walk out.
But no, it's on the label.
Oh yeah, bro. My bodega guys is lying about stuff.
Dude, it's hilarious. I remember I went to a
Make something
bodega
up.
once. I got the Arizona. I put it on the table. He was like $1.25. I go, it says 99 cent on the can.
Got the MSRP on there.
I think they just tried out with white people. 'cause
100%.
That's never what's happening.
100%. That's the thing. It's tough being white, bro.
Yeah.
They profile you.
You get taxed.
You get taxed for your
25%.
whiteness.
You can't sit at the boil. It's awful.
Yeah, it's
We're
fucked
struggling.
up.
I want to go back to this whole football pussy thing. Because
Also, what's up with his deformed penis?
Oh, it's like scarring. It's like it looks like it was burnt.
Like he's black.
Damn, bro.
He got that Michael
Like
Jackson
this,
Pepsi
yeah,
ad
probably
penis.
like the Michael Jackson situation.
Oh, okay.
It's white
Damn,
and
bro.
black.
Anywho,
Yeah.
all right, Taylor, what was your question? And then we're
what
gonna
is
move on.
a football pussy?
It's just tighter at the brim, and then it kind of opens up in the middle like a football.
Like, so there's no walls in the middle.
There are walls. You just got to go poke for them side to side.
Yeah.
That's how I got off. I just went for a wall, rubbed my dick up
Yeah.
against the wall.
You're like playing Pong.
You know what it was like?
See,
Honestly, because I didn't use the other wall. It was like Andy Dufresne escaping from Shawshank, and I was just carving away
Yep.
at that one wall.
Wood chipping.
Carved wood chipping.
Yeah.
I was wood. I didn't even touch the left wall.
Well, maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's why her vagina's
Yeah,
like that.
dude. I think Ty goes in there. Maybe Safari. Maybe both.
Yeah.
They just open that thing up.
Yeah. Exactly.
These poor.
It's like Berlin, dude.
These big old black dicks destroying them.
Yeah, we gotta acknowledge that.
We might have to.
What?
What's going on?
Hold on. So
It's okay.
what?
Taylor, collect yourself. We're gonna move on. Okay, we're gonna move on. You think about football pussies. We're gonna move on. All right, we're gonna take a break for a second, man. Keep these dicks hard. Yes, sir. Fast forward. We haven't said fast forward in a minute, matter of fact. We didn't bring back fast forward. Look, you already know what time it is if you listen to this podcast. Blue Chew. Simple as that. You want the hardest dick, you want to service your girl the way that you should. Matter of fact,
The way that she deserves.
the way that she deserves it. You keep listening to this podcast, you're going to hear dick size expectations like you've never heard by
Boy.
Taylor, okay? And it's going to make you want to get that Blue Chew immediately because Al said it made his dick grow a quarter inch.
It did.
A quarter inch, a whole quarter inch. Or as Taylor would say, absolutely zero difference when it comes to the size. That's like
Or as
breaking a
I would
little
say-
icing off the muffin.
Or as I would say, a huge difference.
Yeah, double the difference.
Double the difference is big, okay? Point is, Blue Chew, same active ingredient that's in Cialis, Viagra. I'm telling you, this is the guaranteed night of your girl's life. You're going to deliver that. Ladies, if you're listening right now, you deserve it. You deserve it. Isn't there a song? You deserve it. No? I know you heard that.
I don't know.
The
what
Weeknd
you're
sing
doing,
that
you know?
song?
Okay, maybe the weekend.
Oh,
shit
yes,
like
yes.
that.
Right? Ain't that some shit?
Which is when you need Blue Chew.
The Weeknd. Hey! Mark saved that, yo. Mark saved that. Thanks, homie. Point is, y'all can save your relationship. Blow your girl's back out. Then she can't leave. What? She'll leave Monday. Point is, you get that Blue Chew, you handle your business, okay? BlueChew.com, use the promo code Flagrant. All right, you're going to get it for free. All you got to do is pay $5 shipping. BlueChew.com, promo code Flagrant. Hardest dicks in the world. Free with $5 shipping? That's a no-brainer. Let's get back to the show. I want to talk about SNL a little bit because have you guys noticed a lot of comics shitting all over SNL on Twitter?
Yeah.
This has been going on for a while.
Yeah.
I admittedly do not watch SNL.
I honestly forget it's on. It could be Saturday night and you'll say, what's on TV? And I'll be like, son, I don't know.
Yeah, especially with playoffs. There's like fights going on. There's a lot of other shit going on. To be fair, Chris Rock was on this week.
It's a good show to watch with your family.
Interesting.
I was with the family. It's like, hey, what do we watch? It's like, that's an easy go-to.
You got parents that understand the references. I do not.
Okay.
This is so weird.
That is interesting. You can watch with the whole family. You don't have to worry about it being too offensive.
That's crazy, though, because when we were kids, it was on at midnight or whatever, specifically because they say crazy shit.
So you're saying it changed?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what happened is I'm seeing a lot of activity on Twitter of comics just shitting on SNL. And this has been like the last, I would say a few years.
Yeah.
But it's getting more and more popular. And I'm concerned SNL is going through like a Dane Cook phase where it's becoming cool to dislike. Mm-hmm. Like Dane Cook was the biggest thing in the entire world.
Yep.
It did Madison Square Garden. And then he kind of like jumped the shark, if you will. Mm-hmm. You remember that?
Yeah, he got too big.
He got like too big or something like that. And
Louis accused him of stealing a joke. And isn't it funny that Louis made an accusation that doesn't really seem true and ruined somebody's career. And now is doing an entire special about how fucked up it is that people can just make accusations and everybody believes it. And they elevate their profile as accusers and the accused can't defend himself at all.
oh my God.
I just put that together at this moment, but that shit make a lot of sense.
Good. I like
That was really good that you did that.
Son, I'll be doing it
Sound like
sometimes.
Father Ben right there, bro.
Damn, bro. Listen up, Father Ben. That's how it's done.
Bruh,
Freestyling.
son, House of Glass, Louis C.K. You know what I mean? Don't throw stones.
Whoa.
Or jerk off on the windows.
Ooh, that's Louis. Not,
So much harder to jerk off in your house of glass, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet he
Everybody just looking at you.
Nah, he want that glass house though.
Yo.
Louis probably built his house from all windows, floor to ceilings.
Yo, free Louis C.K., man.
what do you mean? Like,
I don't know. Just free him.
his album's free now? Is that, just giving that shit away?
Son,
Free Louis, man. He gave me a compliment once.
yo, I didn't see him
But
laughing at your jokes.
I got complimented post allegation.
Pre-allegation, Louis ain't touching you, son.
Yeah, it might not touch me. Post, he got to be humbled a little bit.
Post, he gonna force you to listen to his compliments. And you're gonna get these compliments.
Interesting.
That's all I can force you to do now.
The door of the green room locks. Hey, man, can I just tell you about how funny that joke was? The one that you
It just felt so good to listen to.
Poor Louis. Nah, free Louis, man. But
I
that,
didn't like the way he did the Dane shit. I didn't like the way he handled that.
Fair
And
enough.
I didn't like Dane from jump. Before I was just like, I just
Yeah.
don't get it.
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't white, so I was like, I just don't get what the big fucking deal is. I
right.
find
Do you
it
even
funny.
remember the joke? I don't remember the joke.
No, I don't.
Isn't that funny? We remember the allegation. We don't remember the joke.
Yeah. That's what's tough. But I mean, if you watch Carlos Mencia and the joke he was
Blatant thief. Blatant thief.
Even beyond the fence building joke, that I think wasn't. That's a very
A lot of
easy
people
joke.
come up with that joke, and a lot of other comedies have done it. But blatant thief, Mencia.
repeat
I will
offender.
say this about Dane. I mean, as far as I was concerned, he put out a lot of comedy.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear that any allegations besides Louis.
No.
Right? I think there was very minimal.
I think Dane was a weird guy, probably unlikable.
Yeah, but I don't know if he was stealing.
Yeah.
You know, and the jokes weren't, and this is not to like knock Dane, but like the jokes weren't so like sophisticated that like you would have to.
He doesn't need to steal because he doesn't rely on his material.
Exactly. He was
about
so
him as a
charming
performer,
and
yeah.
such a performer that he could go
Oh,
wherever.
yeah, we
Anyway,
got there. Yes, that's how you do
Okay,
it,
so
baby.
I want to talk about SNL.
Yeah.
So SNL comes out. Everybody is shitting on this week's episode of SNL, and all these comics are shitting on this week's episode of SNL, and they're coming hard on SNL. I mean, they're saying like the writing is trash. And like we have friends that all work at SNL that I know for a fact are hilarious.
I think Sam J is legit, maybe
Sam
female
J
Patrice. He's so funny.
So funny. Michael Che, hilarious. Chris Redd, hilarious. Colin Jost, hilarious. Pete Davidson, when he was doing stand-up, I'm not sure he's doing it anymore, but he was very,
Pete
very
is a
funny.
star, dog.
Very, very funny. We're just talking about stand-up.
Yeah.
We're not talking about
Pete's a
how much
stand-up,
we like
and
him.
when
I know
Pete
you
does
love-
it-
I know you love him.
Yeah.
Okay? I know you love him.
Put up that. Pete got a tiger picture of Pete Davidson.
So,
Now,
the question
the
is
whole
always how do you
idea
have
is
such
about
funny people
protect.
and then create a show that, for
all
whatever
about
reason, people seem to say it's not that funny. I don't watch it. Again, but Al, you saw this week,
Yeah.
and
I thought it was completely trash.
Really?
I didn't laugh at all.
All the sketches bad.
All the sketches were bad. I was really disappointed in Chris Rock.
Chris Rock bombed.
Yeah, because that's why I watched it. So Chris Rock, he did his opening monologue. He tried for a joke or two in the beginning, and then the rest was just like
Thoughtful shit.
yeah, thoughtful shit about the state of the country. It was
Going
wasn't
on
even
live.
that. It wasn't even provoking. Like at least when Chappelle did it, it was like
Chris Rock has
it's
no idea.
interesting.
But you don't have to compare them. That's a tricky thing, and I understand what you're doing. But like, and we're gonna do it naturally. Like, we're always gonna compare LeBron to Jordan because there's no one else to compare him to. And I think that is like the trouble of being Chris Rock in an era of Chappelle is no matter what you do, you gonna get compared to the GOAT.
Yeah, but I mean, if you try to open up Saturday Night Live without stand-up, like the only other person I knew who did that was Chappelle.
And even then, I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like, I
Yeah.
understand you're trying to make a statement, but like, this is Saturday Night Live. It is a comedy show. Do the comedy.
Yeah.
Like, no one is better in the world at doing comedy on serious topics than Chris Rock or Dave Chappelle, for that matter.
Yeah.
Like, that's their gift. They could take the most serious, harsh concept and then find some little gem of funny in it.
Yeah.
And I guess you're saying it's a disappointment that you didn't get to
And
see.
Chappelle will also reward you where he builds up the tension for so long, and then something hits, and then it just gets you because you got the tension building up for so
Makes
long.
sense. That makes sense.
Rock isn't stylistically like that.
Yeah, he's going to be more traditional setup punch. Yeah.
And then,
Okay, yeah.
even with the skits, I was expecting him to, since he started on SNL, I thought he would just find that funny again. And like, it was the whole time, it looked like he was just reading off the, teleprompter, and he's never seen those words before.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it's a bummer to me, man, because, and this is why I love the fact that like we have the ability to put our own stand-up out. Like I love that Sam put her special out. It's on Netflix. I think it's called 3 a.m. or something like that. Yeah, and you go check it out. But it's like Che, you can see his
fucking
stand-up.
funny,
He's
dog.
great. Chris Redd, I'm sure he has stuff out. But like the beauty of you putting your stand-up out is you get to show how funny you are when it's all on you.
Yeah.
Right? Before you putting your own stand-up out, clips, whatever it is, your own special, doesn't matter. You were as funny as the show you worked for. See what I'm saying? So if you worked on SNL and that's the only time they could see you in sketches, people are like, oh yeah, I guess he's kind of funny. I mean, I see his sketches. Or I see Weekend Update and I guess he's okay. But then when you see Che's stand-up, you're like, oh, this is a hilarious dude. And then NBC creates a filter that doesn't allow certain jokes in. And those jokes may be the ones that we find funniest. And I'm wondering when SNL is going to, or NBC, whatever it is going to learn that the attitude towards comedy has changed, and they're going to need to change the restrictions that they have to meet that attitude. Because it seems like, I mean, I have yet to see someone who's like, yo, man, SNL was fucking hysterical. I loved it. It was the most amazing thing ever. And when you're not getting any of that, there's a problem, especially when you have people that we all know are talented. It'd be one thing if there was no talented writers creating shitty comedy. That you expect. But when you have talented writers that when left to their own devices have really successful shit,
Yep.
and when they're all together and they're on this one platform and everybody's like, yo, this is doo-doo, that's the platform, bro.
Yeah.
And maybe it's up to Lauren.
You know what it's like?
Maybe Lauren lost it, bro.
You know what it's like?
Maybe he got too old, man. Maybe Lauren Michaels, who's the guy who runs SNL, maybe it's time to pass it off.
Oh, yeah. I think for a decade plus has been like that.
I don't know. I don't watch it. I'm just saying, based on the material based on the reaction to the material, he might still think that is what is right. And we always trust our own taste, especially when you're a tastemaker like him that made all these stars. You're like, no, I know what's funny. But sometimes you can get a little old.
Game passes everybody by. The game is passing Chris Rock by.
I was about to say, and I want to get back to that, but like, what did we say about Phil Jackson?
Oh, yeah.
Phil Jackson was the man, the guy, could take superstar egos and get them to buy into a system. Had literally an offense that was system only, and it was about having no ego and sacrificing and playing as a team. And he was able to not only see talent but get the most out of that talent. And the game passed him by.
Yeah.
And I wonder if
Lauren is Phil. You're the GOAT.
Yo, the GOAT.
You just old now.
But maybe you still trying to put up the triangle, bro. You still trying to run triangle offense, and everybody else is like, yo, we don't do that anymore. We got centers that shoot
Lauren
threes.
Michaels is your mom's age. He probably just learned how to double click last week.
Let
you think
these
he understands
motherfuckers
YouTube?
shoot. No, he don't let these motherfuckers shoot.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring up 2 points.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, it's just weird for me to listen to because SNL was never a part of my generation.
Yeah, for us it was a fucking thing.
It's weird to hear people be like, yo, SNL fell off, because to me, it's like I had friends that watch SNL. I never watched SNL.
Yeah.
It was never a part of like my dynamic.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't have that relationship either with it. Like and my dad worked at NBC, not in comedy and news. So like he came up, he would see these people in like whatever, Rockefeller, whatever it is, 40 Rock or something, 30 Rock.
30 Rock.
But
30,
old ass Rock.
No, that's
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's address, yo.
Oh shit,
That's
I
why
missed that
SNL
one.
trash, yo.
Damn,
Put
bro.
that shit at 3,000 Rockefeller.
That'd be
And
awesome.
you slapping.
So, but point is like I didn't really grow up watching it either culturally. So I never like I don't know, kind of like I don't have this emotional reaction that some people have to it. But
I did.
You did.
Yeah.
So you've
Like
witnessed
before
it.
I was old enough to go out late on Saturdays, that would be like the little family Saturday night situation.
And does it hold up with your family still, or do you think?
We were all looking at it like that was trash.
Really?
You know what SNL is like with the talented people? It's exactly what we talked about last week, where like a football player, like a quarterback, gets drafted to a trash system. You just know he's not going to be good.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield might be good on another team.
He balled out.
But he
balled out yesterday.
Yesterday, actually, the Cowboys lost and all that, but he didn't play. I was looking at him like, yo, you're better than this. The running game was incredible, but now they might be okay.
Like what, 3 or 4 touchdowns, right?
He did, but he had like 170 yards and like 5 yards an attempt or something. But anyway, point is, a good player can get drafted to a trash organization, and you know their career's over. Now, luckily with stand-ups, you can put out your own content now. That's different. But SNL, the system is trash. You got to blame the system now. And I was going to say one thing about all the tweets. I think a lot of the tweets are comics being like, yo, I want that spot, so let's get other people out of there.
Yeah.
But it could be good for SNL because from what I understood, for a large part, they were very happy with what they were doing the last 10 years because critics liked it, and that's all they listened to. Twitter seemed to like it because Twitter was liberal, and that's all they listened to. Now that Twitter is trashing it, they might be forced to confront the fact that our show isn't what it could be.
The thing that I've realized is like that the internet kind of exposed is the uselessness of critics. Like the critics were involved in this system that this antiquated system now, but basically what the critics would do is reward the shows that propagated the system.
Yeah.
Right? So HBO has a new show that comes out. The critics are going to go, okay, this is a really good show, and we're going to make that the new thing.
And it'll win all the Emmys.
And they're going to win all the Emmys, even though nobody watched it. And that works until we have the freedom to watch whatever we want.
Yeah.
You know, when we were relegated to just watching TV, we're like, all right, I guess I'm going to watch what the critics say.
Yeah.
Because that's, I guess, the only thing that's hot right now. But when I have the choice to turn on YouTube and watch whatever I want, or even Netflix or stream whatever the fuck it is, when I have a million different options, you'd think that the critics' voices would be louder. But unfortunately, they haven't come on board with the new generation.
Well, that's another difference. Is before, the audience didn't really have a voice. Now, as annoying as Twitter and YouTube comments can be, the audience has a voice. They can make themselves heard at every turn.
I think I figured out what the critic thing is. Back when TV was appointment viewing, a critic had value because I was going to schedule my night around their critique. You say that this show is fire, 9 o'clock, I'm going to make sure I'm done with dinner at 9 so that I can watch that show. We are planning to sit down and watch it. Now that everything is streamed and I can watch it whenever I want, I don't need you to tell me if it's good or not. I'll literally just watch it at my leisure.
Yeah.
And the investment is so little that even if you trash it, I'm going to still give it a shot. My friend said it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think that's what was so terrifying when that Will Smith movie came on Netflix and where all the critics unanimously trashed it. Their job was not to review a movie. Their job was to motivate you to put clothes on, leave your house, and go to the movie theater. Now that they don't have to motivate you to get out of your house, put clothes on, Bright, yeah. Now that they don't have to motivate you to leave your house and go to the movie theater, that you can literally just press play in your underwear Sunday morning. I don't need you to tell me if the movie's good or not. Will Smith is in it. I'll give it 5 minutes.
Yeah, and if it's trending on Twitter, there's a critical voice, but if it's trending on Twitter and the comments are, it's hot.
Every time we go
That's
eat.
the loudest critic.
Every time we go, I stole this from you, Mark, but every time we would go eat, remember on the road, Mark always asked the waiter, he goes, what's the most ordered item on the menu?
Now I do the same thing.
Every time I go ask. And I go, why you always ask that? He goes, oh, crowd wisdom. I go, what you mean? He goes, it's always right. And he's got a point. If it's some fire shit, here, you break down the argument. What was the reason why?
Yeah, basically that. Like, that crowd wisdom, like, there's, like, these little, like, experiment shits. Akash is rolling his eyes right now.
No, not at all.
No, it's going to be long. I'm not going to keep it long-winded.
No, not at all. I swear I was.
Yeah, so basically, like,
head.
if you have, like, a group of people, and you have a bunch of coins in a jar, and you ask all the people, hey, how many coins are in the jar, they're going to be able to, no individual person will be able to guess as close as the average.
But the average is always going to be there.
The average is always the closest thing. Like,
so you apply that to
food or whatever.
Anything.
Like, yeah, whatever the crowd like consensus is on something, I'm like, yeah, it's probably what I'll like.
I mean, think about it. If you're a waiter and you realize that over the thousands of people that come to that restaurant, they all get the shrimp poppers or whatever the fuck it is, it's probably the thing you need to get.
That's a great
And
question.
it will never fail you.
Yeah.
Literally never fail you.
And I didn't even realize I used to do that before Mark.
Man, let him have the fucking moment, yo. Come on, Al.
I did it in a different way because I just hated going through the menus. I would just like pull up Seamless or Yelp or one of those things and just look at the
Yeah, what did they say?
But they would just say like, these are the most popular dishes, and I would always get one of those.
I want to make a little point about this, right? Sometimes what I would do before, and this is dumb, is you ask the waiter their favorite item.
Yes, and that's what I do, and it's stupid.
And why is it stupid?
Because sometimes they're just trying to get some shit out of the restaurant, out of the kitchen.
That's one. Two, which is like they want to upsell you.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah.
You're going to say they're most expensive.
Or
shit.
they just got some, like, we got extra fish.
We got to
We got to
get
move
rid of
the
this
fish.
fish. Two, right? Three, their wisdom is not the crowd wisdom. They could really like the steak, but everybody in the restaurant, or not the majority of the people that go to the restaurant, might be like, yo, the chicken is way better than the steak.
And when you eat there every day, you start to get tired of the thing that's most popular, that you would love the first time you went in there.
Critics are waiters, and some of them are really good waiters, meaning they're able to pinpoint something and say it's absolutely delicious, and we trust them as some piece of content, if you will, right? But the crowd
wisdom.
The crowd is right.
Do you ever do that with like videos on like Facebook or something?
Go.
Like Instagram, if it's got like a ton of views.
Yep.
If it's got like 3-4 million views.
Like, it must be all right.
I got time. I'll watch a 3-minute video if it's got 5 million views.
Yep.
If it's got like 10,000 views, you got
5-minute video, it's like, oh
10
my
seconds
God.
of my time.
You
Tops.
better deliver.
Yeah, I think we do it with everything.
I think that's why they put the views on there.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
an incentive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you notice, sorry to cut you, Taylor, but you notice even with our shit that we put out, is once it cracks a certain number, it's actually easier to rack up views. Like if we hit like 1 million in a week,
That's what viral is.
Yeah, 100%. But like, you would think that like there's an immediate viral sensation, but it also tracks faster than the other stuff. For that reason, it's confirmed. What were you saying, Taylor?
Well, based on like the food thing, how do you know the waiter's not just lying to you though? Like,
That's why you don't trust the waiter.
But who you asking about?
Yeah.
What's the crowd take? How you know he's just gonna put in his own like favorite?
Yeah, it's true. But if he says some shit with like mushrooms in it, you know he's lying. Yeah.
Mark hates mushrooms.
Wait, what?
Why?
Because they look like Tiger's dead. That portobello. My man had the portobello.
It's like you're eating your own uncircumcised dick.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
No,
what
mushrooms are served.
What?
Yeah.
Mushrooms are served.
That's why you don't like
half
it.
a stack of Jack.
Oh, that's the hate.
Yeah, it's the gross
Jealous.
food. I'm not jealous. I don't care about mushrooms. They're not bigger than me or whatever. I don't care. You think I care about mushrooms? Nah, I just think it's the grossest food.
Right.
That's
Point
wild
is,
ways.
if we're bringing this back to SNL or just critics in
That's the
general,
situation
right?
if I had
is
Kings,
when you have a
that's
couple
another
people
outcome.
hating on SNL, might be the same thing as a waiter saying, I don't like a dish. But when it feels like your Twitter is consumed by it, and I'm not just talking about comics, I'm talking about like sports
I
people.
led him to that.
I'm not going to name names, but when I see people that have nothing to do with stand-up shitting on SNL openly, I'm like, oh, something's missing here. This is not hater, bitter-ass comics only. This is the American population going, hey, this isn't up to par with what we want. And the only thing that I can say is they have talented motherfucking people there. Somebody is putting a wrench in the system.
Yeah.
It's not the comics. We
Comics
know.
cook.
Let them fucking cook. I think that's the only way to save it, man.
Do you think it's possible to just like, I think I brought this up before, but just the nature of the show, like you have a live show, people are doing a live sketch, it's
Yeah.
just antiquated, it's just not interesting to watch a play on TV.
Yeah, go on that. Like that's interesting because I watched Hamilton last night.
Oh, they do it's live?
And it was live, and it was sensational. Granted, Hamilton is a play for 3 hours. It's probably been worked out for a year before they get it to this level. I mean, it was unbelievable. Music, choreography, dance, etc.
Yeah.
These people are writing an hour and a half show in 1 week.
Right.
We write 5 minutes in 1 week, and it takes us an insane amount of time. That being said, there's more punchlines in our 5 minutes than in any monologue in history, right? But if I'm looking at it like that, maybe you're right. Maybe it's just antiquated, man. Maybe it's just not what we want to see anymore. Maybe they're better off having a season and like doing, 20 episodes throughout the
They
year.
do have a season, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think they're year round.
So maybe it's better to like write in the off season and just deliver.
But a lot of their stuff is topical.
That's the thing. They got to be topical.
So maybe you do sketches that aren't topical,
Yeah.
and then you just make the
Have
what's
one
it
or
called,
two
the
topical
weekly
sketches every
update?
year. Yeah, weekend update.
Yeah, just do a weekend update, or just do 1 or 2 topical sketches. You don't have to do all of them. It's a lot of pressure to fill an hour and a half a
Yeah,
time.
100%. The off season is where you should do the work.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Is anybody happier about this than Shane Gillis?
Shane's celebrating.
Shane loving it, yo.
Shane's loving Twitter, man. Shout out to Shane, man. He's on the road. Go check out Shane, dude.
But yeah, talking about something antiquated, I think movie theaters might be dead.
Yeah, this is crazy.
You heard about that?
Break down the story, Al.
All right, so there was supposed to be a James Bond movie coming out, and that was supposed to basically save the movie theaters because they've been suffering. And
Yes, it's something about now is not the time to die or something. They're all that. Yeah,
they all
Sounds like any
Every
James
Yeah, I know,
James Bond
they all
movie.
the same shit.
Yeah, you can love tomorrow. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
So this one they
No,
pushed
they
it
got
back
the
to.
Wu-Tang name generator. They gotta have a Bond name generator. Every single one. Go.
They pushed this one back to 2021
Yeah.
because the studio felt they weren't going to make money and they weren't going to recoup. And movie theaters were hoping on this. They were hoping for a nice big weekend to give them a nice little stimulus. And now they closed a bunch of Regals and Cineworld in UK.
And you're saying that they're probably gonna be closed forever?
Yeah, I think it's an estimate of like 85,000 employees.
Are movies done now?
Just,
No, I mean that. Like, are going to the movies? Is that done?
no.
You don't think so?
No.
Why not?
I think people still want to gather around. Like once the
I think
corona
it's-
shit's done, dude, this shit's open.
I think it's going to be like stand up, where there's a market for it, but it's much more niche than it ever was.
Wouldn't you say the opposite is happening now with stand-up? Like, stand-up's the biggest it's ever been.
No, but going to stand-up comedy clubs is still kind of like, it's not a super mainstream thing. Like, most of the people you know probably, well, maybe we're different because we know people who come to our shows.
Yeah.
But I don't think the average person is like, oh, I love going to stand-up shows. The way we used to love going to movies. Like, some people would go every
Stand-up's
week.
never been as big as movies.
Yes, so it's kind of a more niche thing. In the 80s, it was pretty mainstream, and like everybody's going to shows from what I understand all the time. Comedy clubs popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
We're not opening a ton of comedy clubs.
But now
right
it's bigger than the 80s.
It's bigger because we're watching it at home. Going to comedy clubs.
Going to comedy clubs. Now the boom is bigger.
You think there's more people going to
That's from what I've heard.
I didn't know there was comedy clubs popping up like that. I still see comedy clubs struggling.
Right.
I think Hollywood's going to be affected. I think Hollywood's going to have a thinning out because they have like these inflated budgets and like $1 million movies and shit like that. But now Netflix showed them, hey, you can make low budget movies and make them still good and people are going to watch it. And so now I think like a lot of the people who, hey, I hold this one little thing, but I need to get paid
And I got a union salary
and union and all that shit. I think it's going to start getting trimmed down.
That's interesting that you say that about the trimming of Hollywood, because maybe the same thing happens to Hollywood happened to music. You know, where like music was monetized obviously by selling albums.
Mm-hmm.
Then they stopped being able to sell albums, and they were like, now we just got to stream. And correct me if I'm wrong, but like the record companies have found a way to like game the streaming side of the business, or no?
Yeah.
Is everybody making way less money?
Nah, they found a way to make money and just pay artists less.
Interesting. Yeah. So maybe that's what happens with movies. I mean, like the days of paying a star $20 million for a movie, I think are done.
Yeah.
No, dude. Like, my suspicion is that the way that like Hollywood's set up financially, they still want to make the most money on each movie. They want to make the biggest amount, even if that means fronting more money. So ultimately, if you're able to make someone spend $15-20 in a movie theater, I think they're going to take that versus like a streaming.
So, but here's my question, right? If you have a $200 million budget for a movie, the only way that you can make that back, not the only way, but the way that you make that back most effectively is if there's some sort of like financial barrier to entry, right? And that means literally going into the movie theater, paying the ticket.
Right.
Anything online, this next generation, your generation specifically, y'all know how to get it off of, what is it called?
Right, exactly.
Like torrents
And all this other stuff. Like, you can watch the movie the same day it comes out, sometimes before that.
Yep.
So there's no way that old system of paying to go to the movies is going to be sustainable.
But I think the theaters in the movie studios are just going to say it's only in theaters. This is the only place you can see it. If you want to see it, you have to get in your car. You got to come here. You got to spend $15, and that's the only way. Because like I'm even looking at like the budgets that like Netflix is paying for. Like their most
That's what they
expensive shows.
used to do. That's a movie comes out, it's only in theaters.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. I think it's just gonna go back to the way that it was like 10 months ago. And that like I'm even looking like Netflix most expensive show they ever paid for was $130 million a season for The Crown. And so I'm even thinking like those like multi like $100 million in movies. Like I don't know if they can sustain on a streaming platform.
They can't.
And so my thinking is that there's still money to be made there, and I think they can still get people to go out.
But besides that, people like going to the movie just because it's a bigger screen. And then for me, I go to like the movie theaters that you get reclined seaters and like different, not just popcorn.
That's what I think it'll be.
Yo, hold up. If we can fly, if we can go inside to restaurants, why can't we go to a movie theater with these giant ceilings where there's so much room for
So
there?
I think in Florida they're fully open.
Really?
Everything.
So it's state by state. Like New York, for example, I believe most theaters are either closed or like 25% capacity max. And like restaurants, for example, they have like all these crazy rules. They have to have like HVAC systems in there now if they want to have like more than 25% capacity. Like
So that they could funnel the air.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's like if movie theaters don't have that, it's like I would suspect it's the same like restrictions.
But why don't they just open up the movie theaters and have the reclined seats because it's already space?
And then just clean them in between each one.
I think I think in Jersey I was seeing a movie theater that was open.
Because I really want to see that Christopher Nolan shit.
Yeah.
Tenet?
Yeah.
I really want to see that. But you can't see it anywhere. Everything's closed in the fucking city.
But I
Can't
think
download it.
movie theaters are going to go to this system where like the movie is an elevated experience at the theater. It's like you get food, you got reclining seats.
Yep.
They have, what's the one you always go to? iPick?
Yeah.
I think movie theaters are going to become that kind of thing.
Yeah, that'd be better.
I think the thing where we're all crammed in, sitting next to each other, and just shoving drinks into drink holders and that popcorn and the goobers is all you get, I think that's done.
And socially distance.
You think done forever? Like I'm talking like 10 years.
I think it's done.
Honestly, bro, it might be, man.
What do you mean?
The crammed in together.
House so much. You don't think people want? I don't.
I think the crammed in together. Maybe we're after Corona. We're like, nah, I need people. Once we beat it, fuck it. I want to be around people. I don't care. Maybe that'll happen. My feeling is it'll go to like the iPick situation.
Yeah, sales will never be as good as they once were because there's always going to be a portion of the population that feels a little sketched out with being around people, and they're never just going to go back to normal.
And I don't buy it.
I'm telling you,
I'm like that'd be like when you ask your grandparents, like they couldn't imagine one day just flying to Germany. You know what I mean? Like that, like. The idea of just like, oh yeah, I could just go to Germany because we're in the middle of a world war in the 40s. Like, there's no way that could ever happen. And that's like, I think the mindset now. It's like, oh, there's no way people are ever to be comfortable being around each other. 10, 15
That's
years.
not my mindset.
Human beings, I think, just revert to what human nature is, and that's just like community being around.
I think that movies were already struggling. And I think what was happening with movies, it was kind of similar to what was happening with comedy. They're tracking where it's like the no-name comic had a really tough time selling any tickets because there were fans, not really of comedy, but of individuals. So there's like an Akash Singh fan, but Joe Schmo, who's headlining the Chuckle Hut in Indiana, is not going to bring anybody out. And I think that's what started to happen with films. The only films that were really generating money were the ones that came from either a Marvel franchise, a book franchise, something that was already proven. And I understand that too. If you spent $200 million on a film, that shit better be proven.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think maybe the bottom gets cold off and just goes straight to streaming.
Yep.
But I think there's still going to be theaters with blockbusters.
And low key started coming, but like low key, I kind of like that better. Yeah, exactly. I don't need to see some rom-com in the movie theater. Matter of fact, if I'm getting vulnerable, I don't want to be holding back my sniffles in the fucking movie theater.
Yeah, watching Onward.
Exactly, I can't be doing that. Imagine me Onward.
Nah, I feel you, but these movie theaters still have to pay rent.
No, so check it, right? So yeah, of course they have to pay rent. I think all rents are coming down, but that's a different thing. But so they still have to pay rent. So what we do is we have more blockbusters, right? You have smaller movie theaters. Instead of having a movie theater like the one on 14th in Union Square in New York City, it's got 20 fucking theaters, and you have theaters.
We used to brag about more screens.
Yeah, and it's like, who cares? All we really need is one or maybe three.
Yeah,
that's what I think it's going to be.
You can have one.
It is going to be an experience, and I also think as home entertainment gets better and better, the need to leave is going to be. And I made this decision years ago. I'm only watching a movie if it's like some shit I can only experience in the theater.
And it's not only experience. It's like that last 10 minutes of Endgame, you want to be around people experiencing it too. You want to be around with people cursing.
And I didn't like Endgame as much as everybody else because I didn't get that.
Didn't get it.
So I was
telling Akash, when I rewatched the last 10 minutes on YouTube, I watched the one with the crowd reaction in it.
Yeah.
Because I like seeing them go crazy when Thor's hammer is grabbed by Captain America. Like, that for me is part of the experience. I don't need that for a rom-com. I don't need that for a cartoon movie.
Yeah.
Like,
I think those get pulled off on the streaming.
And that's why I think it becomes
and here's
a
the
smaller
thing that's better. You want more opportunities for streaming. Because streaming often gets like, what they say that happened, like movies got too expensive and then all the longer stories, then all the like the movies that didn't have some sort of connection to a movie or a book or a franchise, whatever, they got turned into longer stories, and then we got this like golden age of streaming TV. You know, I wonder if Sopranos is a movie. At that time, I don't know.
Breaking Bad's a movie or something.
Breaking Bad is probably a movie. Yeah, so we can benefit from it too. Just let Marvel do all the other shit, and it doesn't need to be in a movie theater.
I think
The Secret needs to be in a movie theater.
Bro, I can see Marvel just opening their own theaters.
That's what I think. That's actually what I like. All theaters close, and then you'll have a Disney theater.
You have MGM theater.
Yeah.
That Weinstein theater, that shit's pop. Miramax?
Son, not Miramax low budget.
Say what?
You do that Miramax low budget. You do that at home in the privacy of your own home.
Yeah.
They're not free to leave. You know what I mean?
Climax.
Yo.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah, willow plants everywhere, all over the fucking theater.
Plant to whack off it. So we'll see what happens. Who knows? Look, before we get out of here, we got to acknowledge an athletic achievement that was
this
absolutely
dude heard my
amazing.
stomach growling to turn the music up. I hate it here. I get a job.
There was
that's my
every
brother.
single
She's crazy.
analyst, every single podcaster, Every single casual fan was like, yo, the Lakers are going to sweep this shit.
That's what I thought.
There is no fucking way.
I didn't say that.
You didn't say that. That's right. You did not say that. I'll give Mark credit. He knows absolutely nothing about basketball, but he did get this right.
Come on, dude.
The Heat are missing their starting point guard, Goran Dragic. They are missing their starting, I guess he's a center, power forward.
They're superstar in the making, Bam Adebayo.
Superstar in the making, Bam Adebayo. They're missing both of them. Somehow, Jimmy Butler takes his depleted Heat team.
Looking for an A. How long will it take me to find this A?
All by himself, putting up 40 points.
right
I think he's
here.
like 40, 11, and 10.
Triple-double, yeah.
40-point triple-double. Wait for it.
here.
All while guarding either AD or LeBron.
Insane.
See how
The
quick-
guarding AD and LeBron thing alone
Yes.
is usually something that we would go, wow. Iguodala guarded LeBron.
Yep.
Remember when he would guard LeBron when he was on the Warriors? Or he guarded LeBron the whole game. He managed to score 10 points. Give him the MVP.
Yep.
Oh, my Lord. This guy guarded LeBron or AD.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler's what, 6'7"?
Maybe.
Grown
gotta make
ass
him double
man.
up to get to the money.
6'7", grown ass man right there.
a man, dog.
Put his team on his fucking back. One of the most sensational, athletic. I mean, I don't know if you call it an achievement. I don't know if it's necessarily winning one game in the finals is not an achievement, but
One of the best single game performances.
it's one of the best single game performances in history, dude.
Incredible.
Unbelievable, dude.
Incredible.
I mean, and the guy shot, what was it, 10 for 15 or something like that?
14 for 20.
Or 14 for 20?
Insane.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Gave Tyler Hero confidence.
75% from the field.
Son, if he didn't have your respect before, like, you got to give it up now.
Son,
You gotta
this
give
is
it
the
up
guy. This is what we wish Westbrook was.
Yeah.
We said it before on this
Yeah.
podcast, but truly, that's what it is. This guy is a next level fucking talent.
A next level competitor.
Next
above
level
all
competitor.
else.
And he's talking shit on the way out, too.
I'm actually upset I didn't watch the game because I thought, it's a wrap.
Same. The
Tuning
first
in
few
for
games
any
were
of it,
boring.
and I
Here's
fucking missed
the thing about this. It wasn't. There were times where it got
here we go.
close. Don't get me wrong. I think that the Lakers got within one a couple times, but
Yeah.
the Heat just outplayed them, and it was kind of throughout the game.
Yeah.
And Lakers would make little runs, but then Jimmy would find a way.
And the game, too, they were saying, and I didn't take it seriously, they were like, the Heat might have figured something out. They
Why?
kept the
Why?
game within
Why?
striking distance. They just kind of like,
He says-
their defensive rotations were more in sync or some shit like that. You know, there's always some like,
Yeah.
they figured out not to switch on certain, whatever.
Yep.
I don't know. They were just
Yep.
more on a string the way they defended in the second game as opposed to the first game. And maybe they figured something out because they were within striking distance the whole game. And I kind of took it seriously, but I was also like, man, they always say this shit. Like, come on, this is LeBron. It's over. LeBron looks different. He did not. And granted, I think the Lakers still got it. I think LeBron didn't have a great game, and from what I understand, it was just like, yeah.
Do you think that this was celebrating before the victory?
Well, you know what, LeBron, why Jimmy Butler said you're in trouble to LeBron in the fourth quarter. Some reporter asked him about that. He's like, don't have it out here like I'm just out talking trash to everybody. LeBron said that to me in the first quarter. You're in trouble. So I just used his own words against him in the fourth after we won.
Grown man.
You're in trouble.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But do you think you understand what I'm saying about that? Like,
The Lakers kind of took their foot off the gas.
yeah, like the Lakers are like, oh, we got it. They're reading all the tweets like Lakers about to sweep. Like they dominated them the first two games, and they hear that two of their best players are not even going to be in the lineup.
Yeah.
They probably enter the game going, oh, this is a lock, this is easy. And they go down by a few points, and they're like, we'll turn it on whenever we want. And everybody's waiting for someone else to turn it on. Nobody's turning it on. And then you have a guy like Jimmy Butler who's like, oh, no, I'm going to keep scoring this whole game. You're going to have to beat us. I think that it could be a little.
Now, I'm going to say this. LeBron is different. You got LeBron is different. But as a Mavericks fan who saw the finals in 2006, Game 3 ain't the time to take your foot off the gas. You better at least win that game if you want to put the Heat away. Any Pat Riley squad.
Is there anything Jimmy Butler can do at this point, or what can he do to become Finals MVP?
So there is a Finals MVP from a losing team. Jerry West did it. I think it was only once in history that happened.
I don't think they'll ever do that again, though.
Pardon?
I don't think they'll ever do that again.
I don't think they will either.
If they didn't do it when LeBron lost to the Warriors the first time, when he led in like every category and Kyrie and Kevin Love were hurt, they ain't doing it again.
I also think it's a branding thing when it comes to like Finals MVP. It's like you want to crown LeBron if he does it, or maybe AD, but you want to like invest in your next generation stars because they'll like qualify how great they are with that in a way. And like, what if you won a Finals MVP without winning the Finals? Like, it's kind of a waste.
And Jimmy Butler would have to do this 2 more times at least, or at least 1 more time.
Another thing I want to say real quick, he turned his ankle in game 2. I don't
That's
know if
a
you guys
great
saw
point.
it.
I saw that, yeah.
And like kind of bad.
Yeah.
And he turned his ankle in the scariest way, which was without landing on someone.
Yeah.
He literally took a hard step. I don't know if you saw the thing, right?
Yeah.
He takes a hard step
Turned it hard.
and he curled over on it.
Yeah.
Usually that means, at least when that would happen to me, it was happening to me when my ankle was already weak.
Yeah.
Like I had a pre-existing injury that didn't heal all the way, so it didn't have the strength to hold up when I'm making like a strong move.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, oh, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
This guy comes back next game, triple dub with 40.
Insane.
That's a grown-ass man. We want him on the podcast. We're trying to make that happen, by the way.
Oh, let's fucking do it.
We're trying to make that happen, yo. Tell Jimmy he got shit to handle. We're not going to harass him now, but when this shit is all over, we need to talk to that dude, man.
Yeah.
That's a grown-ass man right
When
there.
they interviewed him at the end of the game, he was like, the difference in his game is rebounding. Like when he was like, yo, we're going to change something, I think they just attacked the boards a lot more.
Interesting.
The Lakers were dominating the boards.
They look so much bigger than them in the first 2 games.
Yeah.
I think the Heat were playing a real small lineup, and maybe he was right. Maybe just putting, like, what's the guy's name? Myers
Leonard?
Leonard or something
Yeah.
like that. Like, maybe just putting a big old body out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's
bang,
what Dwight
box
Howard
out.
is at this point. Just a big old body. That's what
Yeah.
JaVale McGee is. A big old body.
Yeah. You just need someone to be able to bang. Point is, Jimmy Butler's a beast. I fuck with you. I love how you playing the game, Jimmy. We want you on this podcast when all this is over.
Hell yeah.
Regardless if you got that chip or not, we want you on the podcast. I'm buying a jersey. I'm fangirling over here. It's not going up on the wall yet. We'll see what happens. Matter of fact, if they win, I'll put it up on the wall. 100%. They win, I'm going to put it up on the wall.
So, Jimmy, that's real motivation to win.
If you didn't need more motivation, now you got it. Also, Asshole Army, editors, graphic designers, multimedia beasts. We're looking forward to see what you cook up, man. I'm very excited for that. I can't wait to show what you guys do with the world, or show it to the world. So go get to cooking. Again, the link is in the Dropbox, and you can do that. And also, we got another episode every single Friday at Patreon. That's right, the #1 comedy Patreon in the fucking world. Over at patreon.com/flagrant2. It's $5 for the month, but we got different tiers. You know, we got some captains, but you might have to build up to that. Y'all can go check that out.
Second episode every week.
Every
$5 a month.
week,
Best
$5.
fucking bargain in entertainment.
Come on, man. Real talk. 2-hour episode, less than a cup of coffee. You got to do it. We'll see you over there. Patreon.com/flagrant2. Thank y'all so much for spreading the word, supporting what we do. Peace.
Oh, there's enough of them guys.
Oh, I bought a dog yesterday.
We recording?
I guess.
That's a fold. maybe when you.
Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan Little for PokerNews.com. Today we have an interesting hand from a 1-3 no-limit cash game hand that one of my students showed me. Let's take a look. Folds around to the player in the hijack, who makes it 3 big blinds, $10 at 1-3 no limit. This is a loose, splashy player. And with Ace-10 of spades, I think you can go either way between calling or 3-betting, depending on how you expect your opponent to react. If you expect your opponent to 4-bet very frequently, if you 3-bet, you should probably just call because Ace-10 suited flops very, very well. You typically want to be essentially 3-bet bluffing with your hands like Ace-10 offsuit. They would much prefer to play the pot heads up in position as the aggressor. Whereas your big suited hands, like Ace-10 suited, King-Queen suited, Queen-Jack suited, don't really mind if you see the flop multi-way, and also if you see the flop with a deep stack to pot ratio, you'll be able to better make use of your straights and flush draws because you're putting in very little money immediately for the chance to win a lot. So I typically call in the spot, but in the small stakes cash games like 1-3, if you know your loose splashy opponent is going to call your 3-bet with stuff like Ace-8 offsuit or 10-8 offsuit, well then you should just 3-bet straight up for value. So in a higher stakes game, very often you are 3-betting very polarized, just your best hands and some bluffs that have a blocker, like an ace or a king blocker that makes it more difficult for your opponent to have a good hand. And then you're calling with a lot of hands that flop very, very well, like ace-10 suited. But in a smaller stakes game, or against people who are calling stations to some extent, who are not going to put you in difficult spots by 4-betting, but will either fold a lot or call a lot pre-flop, you should be very inclined to 3-bet. So in this situation, my student did 3-bet to $32, which I think is fine. Loose splashy player calls, I have to presume, with a very wide range. That is why you would 3-bet this type of player in the first place. Flop comes Ace-5-4, 2 diamonds, and the loose splashy player checks. I think this is a pretty nice spot to go for a value bet with this hand for sure. And in reality, I'm probably just betting with my entire range because I know my opponent does not have a ton of great hands here, and I know that if I'm 3-betting, I have all the good big card hands, and the ace lines up very well with those hands. So we're going to be betting in this scenario very frequently, and I don't think you need to go particularly large. I like a small size. If we did go small to a hand like Queen-Jack of hearts here, the plan very often would be to continue betting the turn plus the river. I know that starts to risk a lot of chips. You may say, but won't the opponent just call down with any ace? Maybe they will, but what about when they don't have an ace? What about when they check call your flop bet with a 5 or pocket 8, right? They're going to end up folding that a lot of the time by the river, even if they are loose and splashy. I have lots and lots of data from online poker at small stakes and medium stakes and high stakes, but even in the small stakes games, people fold too often, not to flop bets, not to pre-flop bets, but they fold way too often to turn and river bets. So don't be afraid to blast them. So anyway, in this scenario, we don't have nothing. We have the top pair. So we are going to bet, likely using small sizes against this type of loose splashy player here. Look, in the small stakes games, you can be maximally exploitative. Do not be afraid to make the bet that you think will get exactly what you want to accomplish this time done. The idea of balance to some extent goes completely out the window when you have very good reads on your opponent and you know somewhat clearly how they're going to react. We make the nuts on the turn, that's good. So now, if the opponent does have pocket 6s, how much will they call? That should be a lot of their range, that very marginal junky type stuff. Well, those hands will call probably only a small bet at this point, like $30. How much will an ace call? It's going to be a smaller portion of the opponent's range, but they certainly could have it. If they do have an ace, then they'll probably call any bet, like $70, $80, $100. I don't think you want to just rip it all in for 2.5x pot, 2.3x pot. But I do think we have the best hand ever, pretty much, and we are trying to get money in, and I think at this point we have to sort of ignore the fact that we could be against pocket sixes, because if we are against that type of very weak hand, maybe we bet $30 on the turn and $40 on the river and get called by our opponent's whole range, but we would much rather bet medium on the turn and then jam the river to get called by all the ace-x, and maybe even like a hero call jack 10 of diamonds or something like that on the river. So I think I like to go ahead and size it up a little bit, like $70. I think this is nice. My students did a good job on this hand so far. When we bet 70, like I said, an ace is never folding, a flush draw is never folding, a straight draw is never folding. We are going to lose, well, we're going to make the pocket sixes fold, but that's okay. Also, this guy could still call like 6-5 type hands as well, given their loose end splashing. So I like this size a lot. We do get called. River is the 4 of clubs. Backdoor flush draw comes in, and the opponent checks.
Thought it took my time, Bank.
4 is pretty bad, but if you think about the opponent's range, they really should not have a ton of 4s. And while they do have some 4s, there are now fewer of them because, well, the second 4 just arrived. And also, they're way more likely to have an ace or a 5, or perhaps even a 10 at this point. So for that reason, I don't think we're so worried about the 4. Like, yeah, we lose to it. Yes, the opponent's never folding it, but the opponent's probably never folding an ace either. Now, the question becomes, how much can the opponent actually call with an ace? Say they have ace 2, right? Or ace 2 offsuit, which, you know, loose splashy players certainly could. But not very well. Against this type of player, will they call an all-in with ace 2 for 3/4 pot? I don't know. In this scenario, if you think your opponent will call perhaps a $125 bet every time with an ace, but will fold to a jam, to an all-in, some portion of the time, then you should consider not going all-in. You should strongly consider betting something like $125. If you know your opponent will literally always call an ace, because they just do not care, then we should probably just rip it all in, because the ace is a lot of our opponent's range. In this scenario, what would I do? I'd probably go 125 to leave the opponent a little bit of money left, because I think I've found that a lot of the weak, splashy, small stakes players really just don't want to go broke. They don't care if you leave them with 20 big blinds, they just don't want to go broke. So I don't think I would go all in here, but if my student does go all in, I think that's definitely the default play, and definitely what I would do against high stakes opponents. Student does go all in, and right here, like I said, I would not be surprised if our opponent folds ace 2. I also would not be surprised if they call ace 2. So this is a situation where I think I'm willing to give up an extra $40, $50, $60 in exchange for just getting called every time, but I definitely think it is close. Opponent does call. You think we win? We're going to win here most of the time. And ace 7 offsuit. So our hero nailed it. They nailed the read, loose, splashy. And this is the type of thing you see a lot of people do. They make top pair and they just will not let it go. And in this case, student actually extracted an additional $40 or $50 more than I would. So good job there. And like I said, if you know this player just doesn't fold top pair, you might as well get full value. And this is why it's very important to make sure you're paying attention to your opponents and maximally exploiting them. That is very, 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 very important. Our hero did that and completely stacked our opponent. Nice job. Even with worse than ace 10, by the way, I still would have made the same bet. Like, if I had ace jack or better, I think I'm jamming. You don't necessarily want to jam if you have worse than ace 10. Well, if you have ace 9, because when you have ace 9, you're chopping, right, against an ace. And an ace is never folding, so in that scenario, you're going to want to use a smaller bet to try to get called by the very, very junky hands, right? So if instead we had ace 9 or lower, I would be betting smaller on the river, probably, let's go back to it. I would probably bet something like $65 to try to get called by the very weak hands. And if I had ace jack or better, I would be jamming it all in, or betting, almost all in like our student did. So nice hand. So that's me for today. If you enjoyed this hand history review, click like, click subscribe. Go ahead, take a second, do it. It won't take you long, just do it. That's your way of saying thank you. And if you don't want to say thank you, well, you don't have to come back next time. I will not be offended. I understand. I am not for everyone. That is okay. If you do like my work, though, check out my website, pokercoaching.com. We have all sorts of educational training content by myself and my hand-selected group of world-class professional poker players who are helping students on a very, very regular basis take their skills to the next level, letting them win life-changing money from poker. So make sure you check that out at pokercoaching.com. Thanks for being here. Good luck in your games, and I'll talk to you next time.
What's up, everyone? This is Faraz Chaka. Today, we're going to be talking about exploitative plays to crush live tournaments. This is going to be a two-part series, and today we're going to start with talking about how and when to increase pre-flop aggression, and part two is going to focus more on turn and river spots. So this is actually the first video I'll be recording for pokercoaching.com. So I'm going to try kind of a few different styles of talking about topics in this video. And one thing that I really love is after you watch this video to reach out to me on social media, whether it be a tweet, a Facebook message, a DM, and just give me any feedback on things that you like, things that help you, things you'd rather I focus on more, anything you're not seeing that you'd like to see. My goal is really to make sure I get you guys the content that helps you the most. So I'd love for you guys to communicate with me, and yeah, let's jump right into it. So the key pre-flop exploits we're going to talk about today are targeting weak opponents, exploitative blind stealing, 3-bet attacks, and psychological warfare. We're going to have some fun with that last one. But let's go ahead and get started with targeting weak opponents. So to be a little more specific, most common weak opponents I'm really looking to find early on when I sit down at the table, or who are the loose passive players and who are spewy opponents. So, loose passive players, or, they're going to be the players who, maybe want to see a lot of flops, but if they don't hit, they're not, really going to turn their hands into bluffs. They're not really too focused on what you have, they're just focused on what they have. These are players that aren't going to help you build a huge stack, but you're just going to be able to chip away at them with very little risk. And when they start to put a lot of chips in the pot, you can just get away from your hand or pot control, and it's kind of obvious to just that they have something. And whereas spewy opponents are sometimes a lot riskier to play against. They are, going to do a lot of unpredictable things, throw in raises, be in there with hands you can't imagine, and put you in tough spots. And sometimes I find players tell me that they don't like playing with those players at the table, and kind of celebrate that player is gone. And I think that's definitely the wrong kind of mindset, because those are actually some of the most profitable players for you to be playing against. And I totally get that it's uncomfortable because there is more unpredictability when you're playing against them. You might bust out in scenarios that you might not have otherwise bust out in. But you're also going to double up and build huge stacks playing against those type of players. So by kind of getting a better understanding of what kind of hands and what type of situations you want to be in versus both player types is going to kind of help you not be so afraid of, getting in the mix with those type of players. So one of the first exploits is just simply opening wider on these weak big blinds. And let's go ahead and jump into a chart on that. So this first chart we're going to jump into here, it's related to opening wider against weak big blinds, but it's also just simply related to the fact that we can open much wider than we've traditionally been taught we can open. And of course, that's no surprise you're going to hear that from me. But just stop and think about all the players like Alex Foxen, Chance Kornuth, Ari Engel. A lot of these players are known for opening incredibly wide. And players will often be like, you know, this player's not going to survive. They're getting lucky. They're spewy, yada yada yada. And soon enough, years and years have gone by where the success is just undeniable. And I think we've seen enough evidence of that. And really, what's going on is that a lot of these charts, they are assuming that everybody is playing like a solver, which means everybody is, squeezing perfectly, is three betting perfectly, is flatting the right hand. And in reality, that's not what's happening, especially not in live tournaments. So, so because of that, it allows us to open a lot wider than normal. And I'll touch back on this chart and get a little more into that. But let's first just focus on opening a little wider on the big blind. And so there's two scenarios. One is under the gun +1, 100 big blinds, and the other is in the cutoff 60 bigs. So the green is kind of your standard raising range. The blues are hands you can mix in, and the red are the ones that I have manually put in that I will open exploitatively. Now, this does not mean I will open these every single time or without any reason. If it's my first hand at the table and I have no information about any of these players, then I'm certainly not opening these hands. I need some justification for that. Now, this is going to bring me to a point that is somewhat obvious, but still completely overlooked and not taken advantage of as much as you should. And that's, you need to come into the table paying attention to every single hand that's being played. And obviously, that's tough sometimes playing, these 12-hour sessions. But I see so many players coming to the table, and I've even fallen guilty of this myself sometimes, that you show up, you're on your phone, you're paying attention to something else, you're doing your emails, you're just, dawdling on Twitter, and, really you need to be paying attention to figuring out, who those big blinds are that you want to attack, what type of hands they're playing, how you're going to exploit them, and if you're only paying attention to the hands that you're in, then you're missing about 85% of the hands. So it's extremely important that you're focused, you're paying attention, find some games to play, you guess people's hands, whatever it takes to kind of keep you engaged. And even just figuring out what are the things that you need to take care of in your personal life, whether it's your emails and communications, paying your bills, and do those things before you come and sit at the poker table, even if it causes you to miss the first level of the tournament. Because to be able to play exploitative poker, you need to have reads on players, and that just means understanding their strategies, understanding what type of hands you're going to play. It's going to make a huge difference, and you're going to adjust your ranges drastically. That's huge. And from later positions, possibly as much as 16 to 20% more. So when you see, again, we're paying attention, and we have reasons behind opening such a wider range. So let's jump into the second bullet here, in terms of targeting weak opponents, and that's about time. Anyone, flatting you from early position, mid position, the button, small blind, with hands they really just shouldn't be involved in. 5-7 offsuit, or people are min raising, but because your range is so tight, even though I'm normally opening the king queen off here and this deep under the gun, I'm opening that now. I might even open ace 9 off. So the second one here we've pretty much already just talked about. So you can kind of think of these two as we are targeting relative to what they should be calling. So because of that, obvious, when you start to see multiple hands like this, you can kind of connect the dots that they're opening, if they're calling hands like this
So
with
he
a
was
lot
just trying to
of
attack
crappy
me.
pairs, now I'm kind of opening these kind of ace deuce suited, king five suited. I'm going to value jack queen off, calling big overbets, not even paying it, are, overvaluing their top pair with poor kickers, then, we're going to bias towards these types of opens. And if we don't have any of that information, or we're not paying attention, or we're new to the table, players are just playing well, then, we default back to this green range. So this is really how you need to be adjusting your opening range constantly, by paying attention to the table and making these adjustments. You might be asking yourself, these red hands in the cutoff pair, top kicker, those type of players you can just run over. So I'm jumping in there with all sorts of hands if that's the type of player that's in the big blind. Or some players, there's a flush on the board and, they're still calling bets. They're just non-believers. Then, these hands are going to be a lot more valuable. Players that are calling down with, bad pairs, then, having a big pair becomes a lot more valuable. And before we move on from this chart again, I just want to reiterate how big of a deal this actually is. We're talking about increasing the amazing up to 20% possibly here from the most of the time. It's not going to be all of these hands. So the next one is pretty straightforward, but it's simply just 3 to 4xing versus loose, passive, or splashy big blind. And the idea here is we are just trying to kick everybody else out. The good players that might flat behind us, we want to get them out of the pot so we can get heads up against the player that we are targeting. And now this is obviously assuming that the loose player in the big blind that we're attacking is going to call larger bets and isn't really adjusting their flatting ranges. They're just calling everything no matter what size we raise. So maybe it needs to be 5x. That's kind of for you to judge based on the situation. But I think that part's pretty straightforward. It's just a matter of just thinking about it and remembering to use that as a tool in your arsenal. The next one is isolating weak players with raises or 3-bets. So, these are the same type of players we talked about earlier when we're targeting in the blinds or people that are flatting inappropriately behind us. We want to figure out who are these players, and then we want to get heads up with them. We want them all to ourselves. So the type of hands that we might choose to do this, again, kind of depend on what their weaknesses are. So here's a 3-bet chart, just so we have something to kind of work off of here. You could ignore this title for now. We're going to come back to that a little later. But this spot is what the cutoff should be 3-betting. First, a low jack opens 60 big blinds deep, and we see it's 7.8% of the hands. And those hands are these orange hands. Again, this is cutoff versus the low jack. So, if we are in a situation where we're trying to isolate a weak player, again, it's just going to depend on what their weaknesses are. So, if we notice that on, ace high boards, that they are snap calling and just not even thinking about it with, ace 4 when the razor was early position, then it's very clear this player is overvaluing ace X. So against that type of player, I'm going to be 3-betting this ace 10, and I'm even going to open up ace 9, and I'm going to 3-bet those 100% versus a player like that. I'm probably going to 3-bet king queen off, king queen suited, because I want to get in there with hands that dominate. Assuming we think he's calling some stuff like king 10 off, or maybe king 5 suited. And yeah, I'm just going to isolate them, try to flop top pair against them, hope they, also have top pair, and just, get 3 huge streets of value. Um, if we notice that, they don't really play carefully when straights and flushes hit, and they don't really consider that too much, then, I'm going to try to isolate them, with these kind of suited aces. There's also the type of players that are just going to, fold every time they miss. Then you could kind of do a mixed strategy against those type of players. Obviously, we want to be mindful of, how often we've been doing this, and are they getting fed up with us? Are there other players behind us that might start 4-betting us? And, those are things we want to kind of pay attention to. But yeah, that's just, one example of how, we're going to open up our 3-betting ranges to get heads up versus the player that we're targeting. Or actually, just before we move on, just 2 more thoughts there. There's also players that, and even good players, pros sometimes I see, will be calling 3-bets too wide with hands like, 7-5 suited, 5-8 suited, just thinking they could outplay you post flop. And, against those guys, you can start 3-betting these, 7-8 suited, 8-9 suited, 8-10 suited, 9-10 suited. You're just dominating a lot of their flats. And you want to get them, to play you out of position, where, they're just going to be out-kicked, out-flushed, and they're just not going to be able to continue often enough with how weak their range is. And they're also just making a lot of money just c-betting the flop and, just having them fold so often. And then the last thought I want to share here was, if it is this spewy player that you're trying to isolate, you need to be mindful of, are they also, playing unpredictably pre-flop, or are they going to just 4-bet random hands and fight back? If that's the case, then I'm not going to be isolating them with ace-6 suited, ace-7 suited, even, king-10 suited, because it's going to be hard to continue versus 4-bet with them. Something like king-queen suited, I'll still probably feel comfortable continuing against them versus 4-bet. Something like king-queen off, not so much. So you kind of have to make sure you don't waste those hands, and you just want to flat those. But again, if they're passive pre-flop, there's a lot of players that, they'll make moves on you post-flop, or they'll be really sticky post-flop, but pre-flop they're not really, doing 4-bets or, blowing the pot up too much. Against those guys, you're safe to just kind of 3-bet these hands. So back to our list of targeting loose passive and superior opponents. The last one on that list was limping with weak players behind if necessary. So what that means is, up here we talked about an example where, we're opening and this player's flatting queen 5 suited, 5-8 suited behind us. Now against that player, it doesn't matter if you raise or not, they're still going to call. So in that situation, you're raising because they're trying to kick out everyone else, and they're going to call anyways. Whereas, you'll get players that are tight against raises, and they just want to see the flop for cheap, and they're positioned behind you. So now you need to limp to keep them in. So that's just another thing that you need to kind of pay attention to. Is this weak player to your left, or are they to your right? And if they are to your left, are they calling these raises extremely loose, or do you need to limp to keep them in the pot? So we don't need to go in too much further detail on that one. It's really just a matter of, being aware. So that just about wraps up all the topics I wanted to cover in terms of targeting weak opponents. So let's jump into number 2, exploitative blind stealing. This one is going to be a much quicker topic. We're all familiar with blind stealing. So this is just kind of a reminder that, when you're shallow stacked or when average stack is, small, then, stealing blinds becomes really significant, and it's really what kind of helps you pull ahead of the pack. It really has a compounding effect because someone who is able to steal blinds effectively in a tournament where, the average stack might be 25 big blinds, and a lot of players are hovering around, 15, 20 big blinds. The player that dwindles down to 12 big blinds and then doubles up with aces is only at 27 big blinds, whereas a player who is effectively able to blind steal their way up to, 24 big blinds, then doubles up is all of a sudden at 50 big blinds. So it really has this exponential effect. When you're under 30 big blinds, blind stealing becomes, pretty important. That's not to say it's not important all the time, but, the percentage of which you're increasing your stack by does make a big difference. So in terms of the type of hands we're going to be doing a lot of blind stealing with is it's going to be blockers. We want big cards in our hands. And the reason for that is two things. One is, we want to be blocking the hands that are going to be reshoving on us. And, a lot of times, when we're opening these 20 big blind stacks, it's going to be, ace king, ace queen, ace jack, ace 10, suited aces, king queen, king 10 suited type hands. These are the kind of hands that we get reshoved with. So, when we have an ace in our hand, when we have a king in our hand, we're blocking that from happening. But that's really only half the reason. The other very important thing is, when you're this shallow, reverse implied odds become less, which means you're not as worried about being out-kicked, and you're more worried about just having a bigger pair. So, when you open a hand like king 6, and the flop is, king 9-4, you're pretty happy to get in all your chips. And, a lot of times you're going to be up against a blind who might have second pair, bottom pair, and they're going to be forced to pay you off because of how shallow you are. So, that is actually a mistake that I see a lot, especially in live poker. If you notice, again, these green hands are the GTO hands. And, you see a lot of players opening, 7-8 suited, 6-7 suited. It really doesn't make sense. Those aren't the hands you want to be opening. 20 big blinds deep, under the gun +2. You even notice, even with my exploitative raises, I'm not choosing those hands. The hands that I decide to go exploitative with are, these suited king blockers, ace deuce, even 10 jack off, queen 10 off. These Broadway cards that are going to fly bigger pairs than, what the big blind will when they're calling us with, queen 5 off. We want them to have, the second pair, with the 5 in their hand when we have, top pair with a jack or 10. Again, I'd much rather steal with ace 8, ace 7 than 7-8 suited. Now, of course, that changes when you're, 60 big blinds deep. Because your incentives are different. When you're 60 big blinds deep, you're not just trying to flop a pair of aces and get it in by the turn. So that's super important. Oops, sorry about that. So very important to understand, what your opening range should be, and when you are going exploitative, which hands to choose to go exploitative with. And you can see here that, we're able to, increase our opening range from, I think so, this player who's able to pull that off is, going to be stealing, blind significantly, building their stack up. And again, you can't just do that whenever you want. You do that if you notice that players are not, reshoving or 3-betting or flatting enough behind you. So, sometimes you just get in these moments where you notice that people are playing really tight. Maybe it's, because it's, deeper in the tournament. Maybe you just overhear players talking and, they're saying things that are implying that they're going to be playing tight. Maybe it's that they're scared of you. Sometimes you go on a run of cards, or for whatever reason you haven't been, beat out of a pot, or you just have a good image, that allows you to, get away with some of these things. So let's jump over here to the cutoff. So, same concept, just different hands here. But again, we're choosing to go wide with these blockers. These King X offsuits, Queen 8, any Ace X at this point. And, with this example on the cutoff, it's, good players that are playing GTO pre-flop, they're going to reshove out of the blinds with, hands like pocket 2s, 3s, 4s. They're going to take these suited aces, reshove on you. They're going to take 10-jack suited, 9-10 suited, King 10 suited. They're going to reshove on you. But if you notice that, versus late position raises, that 30 big blind stacks are just flatting those hands, now that allows you to open these red hands up. And again, the reason you don't want to normally open these hands up is because when you raise King 8 off in the cutoff, all the players behind are going to reshove on you with hands like 3s, 4s, and 2s. They're taking hands that are flipping with you, and they're making you fold. So you're not able to realize your equity because you can't see the flop. And that's disastrous. That makes opening these hands disastrous. That makes opening all these hands disastrous. But if they're flatting those hands, then you're able to see those 3 cards in the flop, and that's what enables you to open these hands. So, pre-flop, 20 big blind, 15 big blind, I'd say a lot of players are pretty good at that these days. Even the less experienced players, or less studious players, the amateurs, generally people do understand that you could reshove small pairs, but when it gets to the 30 big blinds, the 25 big blind stack, we're still only seeing kind of some of the more advanced players do that. Who are kind of studying these charts. That said, you still do see players, with that weakness in the 15, 20 big blind stack. So really pay attention to if people are reshoving correctly or not. And, if you notice they're not, that's going to allow you to steal so many more blinds and really has an exponential effect on your tournament. So the second bullet here is simply about raise sizing. And that's that when you're stealing blinds, you really just want to use the smallest size possible. And the idea here is, every time you raise to steal the blinds, you're, risking, 2.2 big blinds to win, what's in the pot. And if you could risk 2 big blinds instead of 2.2 big blinds, that's going to go a long ways. When you get reshoved, you're not wasting those 2.2, you're wasting 2, and that adds up over the long run. So definitely go as small as possible if players are letting you get away with it. So an example of that is, generally when you're deeper, 40 big blinds, 50 big blinds, maybe even at 30, you do want to raise bigger from late position, from cutoff and button. You want to go closer to 2 points. And the reason is you want to give the big blind a worse price tight still because of how strong your range is. So that's why, it's okay to just use the 2.2 size from early position, but from late position, you want to go a little bigger. And, but again, if you notice that players are playing, super tight, and they're folding to the min raise or the 2.2 even from your late position raises, then just go smaller. Just test the waters, pay attention. Sometimes it's very obvious when the table's playing very tight. You just notice someone raises and the table goes, just rapid fire fold. Or, maybe they do that versus certain players because they're scared of them or they perceive them as tight. So just kind of pay attention and ask yourself, if you think the table's playing, overly tight or not. And, even paying attention to the raise size. You'll get times where someone will fold show, ace X from the big blind versus a late position raise. And, if you see that type of stuff happening, then you can kind of use that smaller size. So let's jump into the next topic here. Topic number 3, 3-bet attacks. So when to attack with 3 bets and what hands to choose. So the first reasoning that we'll find ourselves often wanting to use is simply players that are opening too wide. So, similar to blind stealing, when you're three betting, you're simply, risking some amount of chips to win what's in the middle. And if a player is opening too wide, they're just not going to be able to defend enough. And by defend, I mean either flat and contest you on the flop, or four bet you pre-flop, or shove all in depending on stack sizes. So when someone is opening too wide, that's the reason why we call that exploitative, by opening wider than you're supposed to, because it can be exploited. So the way you exploit that is you simply can start three betting them wider. So the same way we widened our opening range, with those red highlighted hands, you want to figure out what your three betting range is, and extend that further for players that are opening too wide. Also, players that are folding too much for three bets. So again, some people will just fold, show you ace queen. Sometimes you don't always get to see the hands. Maybe it's someone you've seen, play on a live stream, or you just kind of overhear them talking to their neighbor, saying what they fold. Just really, again, this is the importance of paying attention, because if you can pinpoint who's folding too much to three bets, who's calling too wide, you can play exploitatively tight versus certain players and just have the nuts every time, and versus the ones playing too wide, you can just be three betting them like crazy, Number three, so three is pretty important and under-mentioned, I noticed. It's, players who are taking hands that they could be jamming, often, and they're just flatting them, or, they're not four-betting hands. And what this does is it allows you to realize your equity. So, when you look at three bet charts, lots of times, when you're 35 big blinds deep, for example, you don't really want to be three betting hands like king queen suited from a lot of positions, because it's a waste for someone to open. You three bet king queen suited, king jack suited, they shove all in with pocket fives, and you just folded with a hand that plays really well post flop and is flipping versus a lot of the hands they're jammed all in with. So that's why we flat king queen in those scenarios. But let's say notice a player who's just scared to get it all in pre-flop and wants to see the flop, wants to see that there's no ace there and then get it in. There's guys that will even flat jacks with 30 big blinds versus three bet, because they just want to see the flop and make sure it's safe. Versus those guys, you could start taking hands like, king 10 suited, king 9 suited, king jack suited, king queen suited, ace 5 suited. And you don't need to worry about wasting them, because you're not going to get jammed on. Or when you do, they really have the goods, and it's not a big deal to fold because they're jamming so infrequently. So just thinking about, am I going to get to realize my equity, is a big deal. And by realizing your equity, we're saying that you're going to be able to see those three cards in a flop often. Of course, it's not every time, because there still might be jamming queens plus, but it's, are you going to get to see those three cards more often than you're supposed to? If that's the case, then you can go ahead and three bet more liberally versus those types of players. And the next is isolating players who make big mistakes post flop. We already pretty much covered this earlier when we talked about forcing our way into pots with weaker players. So I think we could skip on that one for now. And the last one here is when you've been card dead. So this is something I do often. Because we have to remember that majority of the times no one is actually seeing our cards. So sometimes people will, they've been running into a lot of good hands, and they're opening a lot, and they're playing really tight. They're just running into good hands, and in their head, they think of themselves as a tight player. But you have to realize no one else is seeing your hands. So as far as the table knows, you're playing like a lunatic right now. Especially if they don't know you and it's the first time they've played against you. So, you have to be hyper aware of your image and what cards have shown down. So, sometimes I'll come to the table and for whatever reason, I just haven't played a hand. I've played very few hands for 3 hours, and it's just because I'm card dead. But it gives people the image that, okay, Faraz is playing tight today. And I noticed that when I open, that everyone just snaps folds. So, you need to kind of pay attention and get a feel for what your image is and how quickly people are folding to you. And sometimes people will even make comments at the table, either subtly where they think, you can't hear them, or sometimes even out loud. People just give you information. So yeah, really just be hyper aware and, take advantage. If you haven't opened for a long time, even if there's, good players at the table, you can take some of those red hands that we saw and, 3-bet, wider than you normally would. And, a good player is going to overfold to you unless they know that you're doing that, which, in most cases, there's no way they're ever going to know that. So really, a lot of these 5 points are really just, knowing that you can use these tools, use these ideas, being aware of them, and just not being scared to kind of experiment. Sometimes, sure, you're going to take these spots and they're not going to work out. It could just be that you're running into hands. You really need a large sample size before you can really say that, these are working out or not. So kind of have faith in the system and the process and, experiment with these things and put yourself out there. Don't worry about the result. I used to play basketball, and, when I would change my form, the first time you change your form, things don't work out because, you're still kind of learning how to use this new form and trying to perfect it. And you're going to notice that happens to you here. You're going to start, trying to put yourself out there. You're going to run into some mistakes. You're going to run into some scenarios you weren't prepared for. But, don't let that shy you away because, there is a transition period when you're trying new things. So, stick with it and, get a large sample size of experimenting in there. Actually, there is one more bullet here I almost forgot about. When players are unconsciously telling you to. Now, that sounds a little bizarre because no one just tells you to 3-bet them, but what I mean here, again, I kind of touched on this in the last one, that people give you a lot more information than they should, and you really need to use that against them. Players will talk about their strategy, they'll make comments that, imply, what they're willing to call a 3-bet with, how they would respond to things, and sometimes it's people just trying to show off their knowledge. Sometimes there's a pro at the table and they want to impress them, showing them that, hey, I know what I'm doing, and first of all, you should never do that. Your goal at the table, is to, minimize the amount of information your opponents have against you, because that's going to allow them to play better versus you. But, a lot of people reveal information like that. So, through how quickly people are folding, players will talk about making the money and how important that is to them. There's just all sorts of things that you can pay attention to at the table. And kind of figure out who cares about caching, who doesn't, who cares about, rebuying versus who really doesn't want to rebuy, kind of understanding like who the satellite players are, stuff like that. You can kind of just try to label players that who are going to be the easier players to pick on. And, go after them. Some players will see, a tough player running over the table and they'll think like, I gotta, stand up to this guy, or he's gonna, bully the table. It's not your job to bully the table, or sorry, to bully the table captain. It can be, but it doesn't need to be. So, don't find, difficult challenges. Go after the low-hanging fruit. Now to the fourth topic I want to talk about, and one of my favorites actually, is psychological warfare. this is something I don't hear too many people talking about in their strategy videos. And I don't
Dude's got less than
actually
one
see
big
too
blind.
many
I don't know
players
what the hell he
implementing
doing. I'm
that
down here with
either.
2 big blinds. It's
We
crazy.
all know there are players out there that, are able to kind of talk their way into winning pots, tilting players, goading players into a fold, into a call. And a lot of these players are just naturals at it. And, there's not a lot of people kind of encouraging students to, try to think outside the box. So, I really think this can be an entire video in itself, maybe even a video series. And, if that's something that you guys are interested in, then definitely give me that feedback, and I'm happy to kind of go
You
deeper.
got it, man.
But,
You got nothing.
this video,
Just go, hold
I
on.
just want to kind of bring it to the surface
Let's
because
see if that guy
I
gets
think
to
it's
the
just something that if you start to think about and understand that there's opportunity here, then that's kind of the first step to being able to take advantage of it. So over to the next slide over here. So here we have kind of a few different things a few different kind of characters that you come across at the poker table often. And you have this little Zen frog here in the middle with a big smile on his face. This is who you want to be. There's the emotional player, his big quads he just got, yelling, and then as soon as he has a bad hand, he's gonna, be on the downward spiral. There's the macho guy who's talking when he has chips, or kind of making fun of you, making subtle comments when he wins pots. There's the insecure guy who, is going to keep kind of bringing up the things that, make him sound better or sound confident. The egotistical player, the ones that are going to, brag about, knowing how they know how to make the right play all the time, and how, really pointing out other people's mistakes, and just showing off their knowledge about the game. These characters are at every single table. And they're all weaknesses.
Nobody is going.
They're all,
that dude is over there tripping.
They're all very exploitable weaknesses. So let's talk through a little bit about how you can exploit some of these human weaknesses. And there's not really a straightforward rule book on how to go about this, but it's really two things. It's one, being aware. The other is experimenting, and the third is becoming good at understanding how other people think, how other people experience life, what other people are feeling. And by kind of experimenting, by talking to people, by hearing how they think, by asking them questions, by you kind of will learn to understand people better that way. And in turn, that's also going to make you better at being able to push their buttons. And I'm, away from the table, people tell you I'm one of the nicest people you've ever met. But at the table, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to be, the nicest guy to play against. I'm here making mental warfare to make, your life as difficult as possible. And it's important you do that with class. You never want to go, out of line and, do something inappropriate. But, you need to kind of understand where that line is.
Oh, if I got 3,000, you falls right now, fool.
Versus what's kind of, pushing that line. So, let's just kind of talk through some examples. So, the first thing that's important is kind of understanding your image. Who you are, what you appear, what your own kind of, what the kind of stereotype of who you are. So, let's say you're the type of person that just talks a lot, and that, you know you're a talker, and people sometimes maybe get a little annoyed if you talk too much, and you're aware of that. So you try to keep that in check, but that's also just who you are. So use that to your advantage, right? We see people who do that all the time. They talk people's ear off, and they're kind of tippy-toeing between this line of, man, this guy talks a lot. He's kind of funny. You kind of like him, but he kind of gets annoying sometimes, especially when I'm losing.
Those are the type of moves we need to see to stay in this, boy.
There's the other type of person who, let's say you're a really slow player and you kind of tank a lot and it annoys people. There's people who use that to their advantage. I'm not encouraging you to kind of slow down the game to the point where it's bad for poker. Because I do think that's bad for poker,
you gonna wait, huh?
Sometimes
You think 7 people gonna go out right now? You better pick a hand and go.
And if you could sense that, and it can get him off his game,
I ain't gonna make
that's
it.
your
Look at them
advantage.
tens.
I'll talk about myself. So, when people see me, I'm typically the guy at the table that,
big blinds, that represent all my money.
Calm, not a lot of things bother me. I take things in good spirit, and I always have a smile on my face. And people will even joke around about how it's so hard to piss me off. So knowing
I'm
that's my
him,
image,
but I'm the one
I
that
exaggerate my image. I exaggerate my personality. Sometimes things do piss me off. Things do get me going, but I don't show that. I kind of exaggerate the personality that people know of me. And
so all you
use
can hope
that to
for
my
is him to
advantage.
crash.
So, I'll just find ways to pick fights with people at the table where, I raise their big blind and, first of all, identify who are the players at the table that I think have a short temper, that might be, and not the greatest mood because they're getting bad beat, they're huffing and puffing, they're talking under their breath. And, so I've already made a mental note of
Just go sit there with his little eight.
I
He just
see
praying.
When I'm pissed off, which
5
does
to the
happen on
money.
you,
And
I
I'm,
don't show that. I don't reveal that to anyone.
I need
because
2 people to go out.
You're revealing to people a weakness, that you're
He's
human,
already just
and you don't want to show
step.
that.
He's not what I'm worried about.
So when I notice that about a player, and I'm gonna try to find a way to take advantage of it, and I totally get that that's not for everyone. That you might be uncomfortable being bad guy in the moment, but I will say this: I pick on all the time. I get players who want to kill me at the table, but as soon as they step away from the table, people are cool with me, and it's because I do it with class, I do it with a smile on my face, I do it with a smile on my face, and I know where the line is. So if you have it in you to experiment, with this, then go for it.
Now.
So, one of the
just get him out of there. Whatever happens, don't let that guy win. Shit.
That's not rude. It's not out of line. It's not against the rules. Poker was originally just a home game amongst friends. Taking the piss out of each other. Good competitive fun. So, if you see someone kind of huffing and puffing or in a bad mood or being rude to the dealer, whatever, or especially, I'll often target, a player who has a huge stack that's to my right. If I got a huge stack behind them, because clearly that is a very, important stack for me to kind of go after. So, 3-bet, show a bluff, show 1 card, and you already know that this player is, likely to kind of be short-tempered because you've been observing them. And, it's going to lead them to make poor decisions. At the end of the day, that's all this game is. You're trying to make better decisions than your opponent, and you're, doing things
I can't play it.
with your strategy to make them make poor and incorrect decisions against you.
For the money this year.
Another part of this game is keeping your composure. So, I'm a big fan of, showing occasional bluffs. Really throws
be all in on this hand. This is a $30 hand right here coming up next.
Just
if I make it,
saying
that's
the things
$30.
you would say to people, to a friend at the basketball court. when you're battling, or if you're playing tackle football with a friend, and what just makes it a little tougher is in this when people are winning and losing money and their emotions are all over the place.
And I'm the fourth one. That's what sucks.
People just
Oh, that was 3. Okay.
and it really gets them off
6-2. I'm all in. This sucks. I need to get lucky. Oh my God! I gotta get lucky. I need to get lucky. Okay, we need double luck. We gotta get lucky. Don't know how this is gonna work.
And a lot of EV over the years. So I know there's tons of value in there. So if that's a topic that you guys are interested in, for starters, just be aware of it, think about it, start experimenting at the table. I'm happy to talk with you about funny stories, the things you tried, the things I tried. If there's a lot of interest, then I'm totally happy to try to think of how to, turn that into a video or a course.
This is the worst way to lose a tournament.
On this video.
To actually get blind out. Oh, come on, hearts. I need hearts.
Content. I always want to make sure I have
6 of hearts.
to really retain that information.
I like that move. Thank you. I can only want to run and get. Oh, they're all in. Oh, I hit 2 pair. Get the fuck out. Wait a minute. 2 pair. I'm good. I'm still in the game, baby. Hey, I'm still in the game, baby.
Leave you guys with some homework.
With a 6-2, never give up hope. Oh my goodness, that was all hope lost.
So further, we're going to identify
now we got there's 3 people left
during your next session. So, whether you're playing a home game,
I still got to sit here.
It could be an online tournament, but I think these are a lot more applicable lines since we're talking about a lot of exploitative things that revolve around kind of getting to know your opponents. Which can be done online, but I think just get more info live. So first, players who are flatting inappropriately and how you can exploit it, whether or not you receive the appropriate hands to actually do it. So, this is referring to the first topic. We talked about targeting weak opponents. We talked about raising the big blinds of weak players, understanding if they're passive or if they're kind of skewy and unpredictable and raising a lot. And then, there's also the players that are just flatting with really bad hands behind us. And we talked about different ways we can kind of get in pots with them.
Okay.
And again, the important thing there was that we choose the right hands based on kind of the inappropriate, ranges they're flatting with. So simply, identify who that player is at the table.
And
if you get the right hands to do it, then do it. And if you don't, then don't force it. Second is, for the next session, identify who the good 3-bet candidates are, and think through which hands you can 3-bet them with. So, as soon as you identify who those players are you can target, even if they open and you look down and you see deuce, throw it away, but don't just stop there. Ask yourself, what would I do if I had ace-5 suited here, if I had ace-10 off, if I have king-10 suited, and think through your entire range and, run through the scenario.
Yeah, right there.
So pinpoint that and check that off after you did it. If you need to, take your phone right now, take a picture of this, and pull it up during the next session so you don't forget.
Just couldn't do it.
Last one, not for the faint heart. Find players to label as having vulnerable ego, emotions, and
it's called getting punished.
And think through or execute a potential
too tight.
attack. So again, this
okay,
is
boom. Just
a
hit
lot of experimentation here, and if you don't feel like you're ready to do it yet, at least just label who those players are, so that you're aware of it.
Okay, no,
because, it's really easy to get caught up in ranges and charts and the math and fundamentals of the game, but so much of the value in
we hit our 30.
Paying attention to these things and understanding the
that's
players.
all we're gonna be able to get.
If all you can do is just be kind of aware of who those vulnerable players are, then that's a great start. And you'll intuitively start to kind of find ways to exploit that just by being aware of it. If you guys end up with any fun scenarios or funny hands that came up, picking on players or going to war with people, or even things that didn't work out for you that you tried, share them with me on social media, or wherever you're able to contact me. Twitter, Facebook, my Facebook fan page, those are the best places. But yeah, and also, this was my first video. I displayed things in a few different ways. When we talked about the opening ranges, I showed the charts with the red exploitative hands. When we did the 3-bet ranges, I didn't want to take too much time, so I didn't show the chart with the exploitative hands. So I'm curious to kind of hear about those type of things. Do you prefer me to kind of go in more detail? Do you like when I draw out the charts, or does that get a little too long-winded and you just want to see me kind of talk through bullet points and go through them a lot quicker? So whatever feedback you can give me on what helps, then I know to kind of prioritize my time on certain things and whether or not I should spend the time on doing those charts and just stick with the bullets. Any other topics you want to hear about, anything at all, like feedback is great. It's going to help me help you guys better. So thanks again, and see you on the next video.
That guy was so damn boring. His voice was just so boring. Bet you this fool didn't do a damn show.
Hey, are you awake? I know how hard it can be. Sometimes just getting out of bed is a hassle. You feel tired, fatigued, a little lethargic. You don't really feel like getting up. Maybe.
No music tonight. No music tonight. We're doing this shit here off the muscle. I'm talking about the real muscle. Let me get with you. We're doing this shit here off the muscle. I've been trying to get this damn hot spot to work for damn near 3 hours in this bitch. Oh, dang.
That's another dollar. Oh, it's 71 niggas sitting there.
Man, come on with that bullshit, man. Man, this bitch acting a goddamn fool right now. This bitch acting a fool. But we gonna talk though. What the mic sound like? What the mic is?
This is how not to look on your podcast.
How the mic sounding?
Dude is tripping. All in. Here we go.
If you are lieutenant, you know how to call in.
I don't have much.
How we sounding? How we sounding? We good.
Not gonna get a better chance.
We good. We good. All right, we doing this off the muscle, man.